I stood by Shin-Yujo's side for 15 long years, watching him rise from nothing to become a wealthy tycoon, yet on our wedding anniversary, he gave me quite the special gift, a positive pregnancy test, from another woman. When I confronted him at his office, I overheard him sneering into the phone, "Luo Jianing, she can't even bear children, even a hen lays eggs, what's she good for?" I stumbled away, only to get hit by a car. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in high school. I've forgotten everything. Only the memory of that boy I adored remains. After evening study, my deskmate Shin-Yujo urgently pulled me aside, claiming I'd become his wife in 10 years. I quickly brushed his hand away. Cut it out. Besides, glancing at the boy's figure in the distance, I gave Shin-Yujo an apologetic smile. I already have someone I like. All I saw was Shin-Yujo standing frozen in place, his eyes gradually reddening. On our anniversary, I specially reserved a restaurant and insisted they decorate it beautifully. This marks the 15th year of marriage between Shin-Yujo and me. How many 15-year chapters does one truly get in a lifetime? Practically everyone who's heard our love story can't help but envy us. We were desk mates in high school, attended the same university, and I stood by him through his entrepreneurial success. From school uniforms to wedding gowns, I devoted my entire youth to Shin-Yujo. Watching the sunset through the window, I sent Shin-Yujo the restaurant's location. He immediately replied with a bunny sticker saying, "Got it, wifey." It's a doodle I made in my free time that he turned into his go-to sticker. Not just that, my anime merch designs even decorate his office desk. They stick out like a sore thumb on his otherwise pristine workstation. Other colleagues would always tease him with a laugh, "President Shin, you're such a love-struck fool." He'd pretend to be angry each time. What's wrong with supporting my wife's artwork? The crowd would erupt in envious laughter and banter, timing it perfectly. I slipped into my coat and finished applying lipstick before heading out. The nanny came in through the door carrying armfuls of express delivery boxes. Spotting me, she cheerfully handed me an envelope. "Mrs. Shin, this is for you. It's marked urgent, must be important." No, puzzled, I took it from her. I'm a freelance illustrator and haven't received any contract invoices requiring my attention recently. Breaking the seal, a single sheet of paper fluttered out from the document pouch. Picking it up for a closer look, it was an ultrasound report, too. Standing outside Shin-Yujo's office building, the howling wind cut through me to the bone. The medical report was explicit: an intrauterine pregnancy with normal fetal development and detectable cardiac activity. In other words, this healthy baby was growing steadily. And the woman's name on the report was all too familiar to me, Song Yishu. She was Shin-Yujo's junior at university. When Shin was invited back to their alma mater to share his entrepreneurial journey, Song served as the student union officer organizing the event. After graduation, when she couldn't find employment, it was Shin-Yujo who took her in. At that time, Song Yishu pleaded desperately with both Shin-Yujo and me. She said she didn't want to return to her small hometown. Unwilling to accept earning just 2,000 or 3,000 a month after over a decade of diligent study, she wanted to establish herself in the big city through her own efforts. She refused to be just a housewife whose sole purpose was taking care of children. My heart softened. Strictly speaking, her qualifications didn't meet Shin-Yujo's company standards, but I persuaded him to make an exception and hire her. I know all too well how crucial a career is for a girl from humble beginnings. I wanted to save her. Since joining the company, she's been working tirelessly to prove herself. She traveled extensively with Shin-Yujo, learning the ropes of business negotiations. Gradually, Song Yishu rose to become the head of the core department. If only that line hadn't been on the report, maybe I could have fooled myself into thinking it was just Song Yishu's pregnancy report, unrelated to Shin-Yujo. But Song Yishu left behind a line of delicate handwriting, almost like she was flaunting it. "I'm sorry, Jianing, but don't worry. I'll keep this secret safe." The office was deserted on this Saturday. I instinctively pressed the button for Shin-Yujo's office floor. I could even feel myself trembling slightly from nervousness. What should I say when I see Shin-Yujo later? Confront him, yell at him, clutching the pregnancy test report tightly. I suddenly remembered how he'd held me days ago, whispering tenderly, "Jianing, it's all right, take your time with the treatment. Not having children is perfectly fine too. I've been struggling with fertility due to health reasons. This has been weighing on my heart for the longest time, yet Shin-Yujo never failed to encourage me. When relatives made snide remarks, he'd always be the first to stand up for me. He shouldered all the gossip and criticism himself. I often wonder how I got so lucky to meet someone like him. We'll have our own children someday. And he did indeed have a child, just not with us, but with them. I came in such a hurry this time that I forgot to text Shinjujo beforehand. He had no idea I'd come to the office. As I reached the office doorway, Shinjujo was on the phone with his back to me. Couldn't tell who was on the other end, only heard Shinjujo's derisive chuckle. Luo Jianing, she can't even bear children, even a hen lays eggs, what's she good for? My heart skipped a beat, just like that first flutter when we met. That extra heartbeat. 3. Don't even remember leaving the office. My whole body went stiff, like a corpse walking. Memories of Shinjujo flashed through my mind like a spinning lantern. During high school classes, he'd slip me silly notes to make me laugh, and even sneaked me out for unauthorized breaks between evening study sessions. That was my first time ever slipping past security right under their noses. We caught a movie together and held hands in the darkened theater. Later, I underperformed in the college entrance exams, missing my dream university and ending up at an average-tier college with Shinjujo. During college, we could finally be together openly as a couple. He'd take me around the city on his electric scooter hunting for good eats, sharing a single roasted sweet potato with me in the heavy snowfall. He told me, "Jianing, I'll make it big someday," and true to his word, he did. After earning his first pot of gold, Shinjujo's career skyrocketed. On my birthday, my friends whisked me back to our university campus. Amidst the cheering crowd, Shinjujo knelt on one knee with flowers, proposing to me. Our friends wept with joy as everyone got swept up in the grand proposal. Only one person said, "Jianing, think it over again." It wasn't until the screech of brakes behind me that I realized I'd unconsciously wandered into the middle of the road. As my body was flung into the air, I hazily recalled that time in high school when Shinjujo and I skipped class, only to be stopped by a boy. Lu Jian stood there in his neatly pressed school uniform, frowning slightly. "Jianing, midterms are just around the corner, stay away from him." Yet I stubbornly resisted and shook off his hand. The last thing I saw before blacking out, after hearing about my impending marriage, Lu Jian leaned against the window and silently finished a cigarette, fresh off completing his research project. Moonlight cast shifting shadows across half of Lu Jian's face. He merely sighed and murmured softly, "Jianing, he's not right for you." 4. "Jianing, wake up." Someone shook me awake as my friend Su Meng leaned in and said, "We're getting a transfer student in our class," rubbing my bleary eyes. I reopened my workbook and test papers. I actually managed to doze off during the 10-minute break between classes. Seems like the stress has been really getting to me lately. Whatever, let them come. I kept my head down working on the test paper and muttered, "Who transfers schools during senior year anyway? Stuck on 2 problems. This is tough." I glanced at Lu Jian sitting in front of me. His head bowed as he scribbled notes on his exam paper. The breeze lifted the curtains by the desk, spilling sunlight gently across his shoulders. My ears suddenly burned with warmth, and I quickly averted my gaze. I should ask Lu Jian about those 2 problems later. Otherwise, Mom will drag me downstairs to his place for tutoring again tonight. Lu Jian and I grew up together as childhood friends. Our parents were college classmates back in the day. When my parents were busy with work, they'd drop me off at the Lu household where Uncle Lu's family looked after me. Over time, the Lu family practically became my second home. Lu Jian's just the same age as me, yet he outshines me in every way. During family dinners, Mom would always nag, "Why can't you be more like Uncle Lu Jian?" Lu Jian's practically tied with me in Mom's favoritism rankings. I poked him lightly between the shoulder blades. After Lu Jian turned around, I hesitated for a moment before asking, "There are 2 problems I don't quite understand." Normally, Lu Jian would have sarcastically teased me with a few sharp remarks, deliberately trying to provoke me. But today, he just paused briefly and gave a nod. His tone was flat. "All right." I tilted my head. "Okay, is Lu Jian off his rocker today?" "Everyone, quiet down." The homeroom teacher entered the classroom with a boy in tow, beaming as she announced, "We have a new classmate joining us today. Let's give him a warm welcome." The class erupted in enthusiastic applause, except for Lu Jian, who propped his chin on his hand, staring out the window, clapping along. I thought to myself, same old cold fish, that one, couldn't even pretend to welcome the new kid. "Hi everyone, I'm Shinjujo." The boy on the podium hadn't put on his uniform yet, just wearing a simple navy blue hoodie. I'm slightly nearsighted and couldn't make out his features clearly. I was about to squint for a better look. Lu Jian in front of me suddenly turned around and tapped on my desk. I quickly averted my gaze and met his eyes suspiciously. "What's up?" "Nothing much," he said with a lazy smile. "Just remembered you wanted to ask me about a problem earlier. Can't let my explanation go to waste, can I?" "Me, damn it, and here I thought he'd changed his ways. Guess I was overthinking it. What do you want? I whispered. How about I treat you to bubble tea, though I'm a bit short on cash lately, Lu Jian chuckled. I'll take an IOU. We kept whispering and giggling under the stage. The boy on the podium finished his self-introduction. The homeroom teacher pointed to another corner. Shin Yuzhou, take that seat, but the boy interrupted her. Teacher, may I sit next to Luo Jianing? I'm a bit nearsighted, so I can only sit in the front rows. The moment he finished speaking, the entire class turned to look at me. Before I could process what was happening, he had already stepped down from the stage and walked right up to me. He said with a smile, long time no see, Jianing, 5. When I didn't respond, the boy's smile froze on his lips. You don't recognize me. I gave an awkward chuckle. So, should I know you? Shin Yuzhou froze momentarily before forcing a polite smile. No worries, I'm Shin Yuzhou, looking forward to working with you. My new deskmate seems a bit odd. During class, I kept feeling someone's gaze lingering on me from the side. During the break, Su Meng and I walked out the back door for morning exercises. Jianing, Shin Yuzhou called out to me with a smile. I just transferred here and still getting familiar with things. I might need to bother you quite a bit. He hadn't finished speaking. Someone had already cut him off. If you know it's troublesome, then don't say it. Lu Jian patted Shin Yuzhou on the shoulder. You'd better ask the class monitor or homeroom teacher about this. Luo Jianing has a terrible memory and forgets things easily. Doubt she can help you. Me, what a jerk. I swung my fist at Lu Jian with mock ferocity, only for him to catch it midair and shove me forward. The voice sounded lazy. What, did I say something wrong? Who was it that went home at noon to fetch your forgotten homework? I immediately backed down, forcing a sinister smile through gritted teeth. Well, aren't you just the helpful one? When we reached the playground, we lined up in formation. Su Meng tugged at my sleeve and whispered, Jianing, Shin Yuzhou's been stealing glances at you this whole time. How does he even know your name? Did you two know each other before? I racked my brains for a while before shaking my head. I've never even seen him before. Su Meng teased me with mischief in her voice. So he fell for you at first sight, huh? I pointed at myself with a silly grin. Would any guy actually fall for me at first sight? My looks are painfully average, shoulder-length hair just like every other girl around, with bangs that nearly cover her eyebrows. She'd easily disappear in a crowd. If we're talking about preferences, someone like Li Ruoyun would be more his type. My gaze drifted toward Li Ruoyun leading the exercises at the front of the sports field. Her high ponytail revealed a slender neck. Sunlight cascaded over her, accentuating her snow-white complexion. Instinctively, my gaze shifted to Lu Jian beside me. He merely flexed his arms absent-mindedly, never once glancing toward the stage. Noticing my gaze, he glanced down at me and said casually, "Oh sorry, am I too tall, blocking your sunlight?" Me, damn it. Yet somehow, I felt an inexplicable sense of relief. The last class of the afternoon was history. As I rummaged through my desk for a notebook, Shin Yuzhou beside me suddenly whispered, Jianing, are you and Lu Jian close? Without thinking, I replied, yeah, we've grown up together since childhood. Shin Yuzhou twirled his pen and asked abruptly, so do you live in Chanhe Garden? I was surprised. Yeah, you too. We're heading the same way, Shin Yuzhou said gently, resting his head on his hand. We could walk back together after evening study. I hesitated. He asked with feigned nonchalance, what's wrong? Is this awkward for you? Not really, I said somewhat sheepishly. I usually walk home with Lu Jian, but he takes forever to pack up. I didn't want to keep you waiting. Hearing this, Shin Yuzhou chuckled nonchalantly. Then why should we wait for him? You can just come with me. This guy is really weird. His tone left me feeling a bit unsettled. But, Lu Jian and I always walk home together. I frowned. We've known each other for over a decade. He lives right below me and often waits for me. Why shouldn't I wait for him this time? Shin Yuzhou froze in place. The atmosphere turned awkward at that moment. I realized I might have overreacted. Waving my hands hastily, I meant we usually go back together. It wouldn't be right if I didn't tell him in advance. Shin Yuzhou pressed his lips together, returning to his usual good-natured demeanor. It's fine. I wasn't being considerate enough earlier. I was completely out of sorts during the entire evening study session. Something seemed to have slipped beyond my control, unfolding in a way I never anticipated. Lu Jian didn't come back all evening. It wasn't until night study session was about to end. He rushed into the classroom, hastily stuffed his textbooks, workbooks, and test papers into his bag, and was ready to bolt. I quickly stopped him. Hey, why the hurry, Jianing? I won't be walking home with you today. Lu Jian murmured apologetically, go ahead without me, and be careful on your way. The street lights are out on the road by our neighborhood gate, watch your step, and text me when you get home. He hastily tossed out those words before slinging his backpack over one shoulder and striding out of the classroom. Watching his retreating figure, I frowned. It was rare to see Lu Jian in such a hurry. Let's go, Jianing, Xinyuzhou chuckled. Seems Lu Jian's busy today. Perfect timing. His tone was casual yet carried an unmistakable smugness. Just means we don't have to wait for him. We walked back along the street together, with Xinyuzhou keeping up a steady stream of conversation, and we actually share the same hobbies, both love painting and sci-fi movies. He even has an autograph from my favorite comic artist. Next time you visit, I'll give it to you, Xinyuzhou said with the ease of someone who'd been here for years, not a transfer student. Feels like catching up with an old friend. What I expected to be an awkward journey turned out to be quite enjoyable. Let me walk you to the neighborhood gate, Xinyuzhou pointed at the streetlight. Your route might be poorly lit. Lu Jian was right, the streetlights were out, leaving only faint car headlights to guide my slow footsteps. As I approached the neighborhood gate, Xinyuzhou waved at me. See you tomorrow. Let's walk home together again tomorrow evening. I smiled and waved back. Sounds good. Right after saying goodbye, I turned and headed toward the gate. Xinyuzhou suddenly called out to me, Jianing. I turned around to see his face shrouded in darkness. I couldn't make out his expression, only hearing him ask, do you know where Lu Jian went tonight? My heart pounded like a drum in that moment. A vague answer lingered in my mind, yet I forced a smile. He must be busy with something. Xinyuzhou chuckled softly too. No. He lowered his voice, almost hypnotic in its delivery. He's seeing Li Ruoyan off. 6. As I climbed the stairs, my gaze drifted toward Lu Jian's room. A warm glow from the lamp illuminated the entire window through the curtains. So he'd been home all along. I stared at the chat window with Lu Jian. After some thought, I decided against sending the message. Instead, a red notification dot appeared on the Contacts tab, a new friend request. I tapped open the notification. It was Xinyuzhou. Right after accepting the friend request, he immediately sent a message. The manga artist you like is having a signing event tomorrow afternoon at the convention center in the North District. Wanna go? I gave a wry smile. But we've got makeup classes on Saturday. I was really bummed out for a long time when I found out about the book signing date. But this makeup class is crucial. We're reviewing last mock exams papers. I messed up several questions last time and have been waiting for the teacher's explanations. You okay? Xinyuzhou comforted me. Missing one day won't hurt. Just call in sick when the time comes. I hesitated, sensing my internal struggle. Xinyuzhou sent another message. Didn't you adore that manga artist? This is probably his last visit to China. You'll regret it if you miss this chance. The itch was unbearable. When Xinyuzhou asked again, I muttered, well, I'll see when the time comes. A sound came from outside the bedroom door. I shuffled in my slippers and pressed my ear against the door to eavesdrop. Faint, familiar voices drifted through intermittently. Right, just checking if she's home. I scrambled back to my desk just as 3 knocks sounded at the door. I caught Lu Jian entering through the door in my peripheral vision. He'd changed out of his school uniform into a light blue shirt. Why didn't you message me when you got home? He knows I'm severely nearsighted and can't see well at night. I buried my head in homework. Forgot. Lu Jian stood beside me for a while. Seeing I wasn't engaging, he caught my unspoken message. I won't disturb you then. Any homework problems tonight? I kept flipping textbook pages, stubbornly muttering, nope. Despite his answer, I still pricked up my ears, afraid to miss a single word from Lu Jian. I thought he'd come to explain why he didn't walk home with me tonight. Why didn't he tell me he was seeing Li Ruoyan home? But Lu Jian remained silent, simply standing beside me in quiet companionship. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and looked up to ask, is there something else? I noticed an uncharacteristic seriousness in his expression. Jianing, keep your distance from Xinyuzhou. I was puzzled. Why? After a brief silence, he said, I was afraid you'd get fooled again. I wouldn't have minded if he hadn't mentioned it. But now it reminded me of how he gave Li Ruoyan a ride. At his words, I lowered my gaze and flipped through the book pages. Didn't you lie to me too? 7. I spent the whole night pondering the meaning behind Lu Jian's words. I was still in a daze during class, completely out of it. A commotion erupted at the doorway as the homeroom teacher helped Li Ruoyan into the classroom. Her left leg was wrapped in bandages, and she could only move slowly. Oh, Ruoyan. What happened to you? Did you break a bone? The other classmates gathered around, and Su Ming nudged me, whispering, "Look behind you." I glanced toward the homeroom teacher and saw Lu Jian standing behind her, holding Li Ruoyan's backpack. Meeting my gaze, he walked straight into the classroom and placed the bag on Li Ruoyan's seat. According to others, Li Ruoyan slipped on a banana peel after yesterday's meeting with Lu Jian, tumbling down the stairs and becoming immobilized. With most other boys in class having left, it was ultimately Lu Jian who took her to the hospital, so Lu Jian went to see Li Ruoyan off yesterday. Just another knight in shining armor scenario. Turns out Shin Yuzhou wasn't lying to me. I kept my head down pretending to read, but my heart was racing. Li Ruoyan thanked Lu Jian politely while I deliberately buried my nose in the textbook, though every word on the page might as well have been gibberish. Jianing, Shin Yuzhou tugged at my sleeve and flashed me a hand signal, reminding me not to forget to request time off. We still had that book signing to attend this afternoon. Alright. I had just stood up to head to the office when someone suddenly grabbed my hand. Lu Jian propped his head with one hand while pulling me closer with the other, as if he had anticipated my move. He said coolly to Shin Yuzhou, "There's still class this afternoon. She can't go." 8. It was lunchtime. And the classroom had already emptied out. Shin Yuzhou's expression darkened. "Lu Jian, I was asking Jianing, not seeking your opinion." With that, they made a move to grab me, but Lu Jian blocked them and looked up to ask, planning to skip class with her again. Shin Yuzhou flushed with rage, "Who the hell are you, her father or mother? Mind your own damn business." Lu Jian ignored him, just looking at me with unreadable emotion in his tone. "Do you really think I'm trying to hurt you?" My eyes met his. In an instant, my mind went inexplicably blank. This phrase echoes in my ears like I've heard it 1,000 times. You feel it too. When did I ever say he harmed me? Shin Yuzhou taunted deliberately. Just take care of Li Ruoyan. Jianing doesn't need your concern. Before he could finish, Lu Jian suddenly grabbed him by the collar and swung a punch at his face. Caught off guard, Shin Yuzhou was sent crashing into chairs and tables by the blow. Clutching his head with a sharp inhale, he was then kicked to the ground by Lu Jian. I stood frozen in shock, still trying to process what just happened. Shin Yuzhou stared at Lu Jian in shock. Clearly he hadn't anticipated Lu Jian would resort to violence. "Don't project your own despicable nature onto everyone else," Lu Jian growled, gripping his collar. "You never change, always willing to do whatever it takes to get your way. Did you make Li Ruoyan fall on purpose?" Suddenly snapping out of my daze, I rushed forward to separate them. "Enough, that's enough. Don't let the homeroom teacher catch us." Shin Yuzhou's face was bruised purple, his lips bitten raw with blood smeared across them. "Why'd you hit him?" I frantically searched for tissues while hurriedly straightening the desks, terrified the school administrators might spot us and drag all three to the office for disciplinary reports. Shin Yuzhou gasped sharply, watching his reaction. I turned to look at Lu Jian. In all my memory, I'd never seen Lu Jian lose his temper like this. Just as Shin Yuzhou had said, the mere mention of Li Ruoyan's name made him lose his composure. Lu Jian frowned when our eyes met. "Jianing," Shin Yuzhou pulled me away while deliberately provoking. "Lu Jian, if you want to stand up for Li Ruoyan, there's no need to take it out on me. Everyone can see what you're doing." I paused mid-step, a bittersweet mix of emotions welling up in my chest. Lu Jian sneered coldly. "You think I'm standing up for Li Ruoyan? This punch is for Jianing. You know exactly how vile you are." 9. Shin Yuzhou told the homeroom teacher he needed to visit an off-campus clinic for an injury. Since it was the weekend and the school nurse was off, the teacher asked me to accompany him. Everything fell into place naturally. We ended up skipping half of the makeup class. Stepping out of the book signing event, I was greeted by a bustling crowd. Clutching the autographed album in my hands, I couldn't hide my delight as I kept admiring it. Shin Yuzhou beside me grinned and asked, "How was it?" "Absolutely amazing." I sighed happily. I've always wanted a personal autograph. Can't believe this dream actually came true. Turning to him, I asked, "You doing okay? No more nosebleeds?" Shin Yuzhou smiled. "It's nothing, as long as you like it." I sighed again. Just wasted the whole afternoon not doing practice problems. Whatever. Shin Yuzhou said indifferently, "Education won't make a difference anyway. Might as well start earning early. All colleges are pretty much the same. Just getting in is good enough." The moment he finished speaking, I remembered how attentively Lu Jian would lower his head to explain problems to me every day. Honestly, I still don't understand why these two ended up fighting. From what I know, these two are like oil and water. They just don't mix. Lu Jian has his own social circle, while Shin Yuzhou just arrived and is still adjusting to the new environment. "Did you know Lu Jian before?" I asked casually, sort of. Shin Yujo narrowed his eyes. He suddenly said with a laugh, Jianing, what if I told you a secret, would you believe me? 10. The evening breeze brushed against my face as everything fell silent around me. Long after Shin Yujo finished speaking, I still couldn't snap out of my daze. He could name every single one of my relatives with perfect accuracy. Tell me about my parents' hobbies, reveal my secret. Didn't you feel an instant familiarity when we first met? Shin Yujo coaxed gently. I know your favorite manga artist, your home address, and your distinctive traits. This is something no one else knows. He chuckled softly. Because you became my wife after graduation. When those two words left his lips, a peculiar feeling stirred in my heart, neither surprised nor puzzled. Only profound regret remained. Shin Yujo naturally took my hand. Our fingers intertwining. See, this is how we'll love each other in the future. Looking down at my hands, so familiar yet so foreign, Shin Yujo said he returned to high school to make up for what he owed me. Only if I accept his confession can we return to the future together. Otherwise, the mission will fail. He'll end up both penniless and disgraced in the future. I asked him, what debt are you trying to repay? He smiled and said, nothing serious. Just been too busy with work to check in on you. The two of them walked back in silence. I knew Shin Yujo was waiting for my answer. So tell me, I suddenly asked, what will Lu Jian be like in 10 years? Shin Yujo answered without hesitation, works at a research institute abroad, total workaholic. Hardly any friends either. No family, no kids, just a lone wolf. He scoffed dismissively and added, even a decade later, he'd still be against us being together. Thank goodness you didn't listen to him. Some people just can't stand seeing others happy. I subtly let go of Shin Yujo's hand and asked with a smile, then are we happy? It was as if Shin Yujo had anticipated this question all along. He exhaled deeply and launched into an enthusiastic explanation. Of course, you're happy. Truly content, everyone around us envies what we have. You wake up naturally at home, experimenting with new dinner recipes every day. You freelance as an artist for pocket money, and sometimes accompany my mother shopping. You've always been quiet and not much for socializing, so I made sure to take you traveling whenever I had time. I asked again, didn't I pursue a master's or PhD? Shin Yujo said nonchalantly, nope, after my startup took off, you chose to focus on homemaking. But anyone can see how happy you are. Seeing me grow silent, Shin Yujo's earlier tension melted away. In its place returned his trademark confident smile. See, now you believe me, don't you? The breeze tousled my hair as the sun dipped below the horizon. I lifted my gaze to meet his. My smile faded as I spoke in measured tones. You're lying. 11. I've never been the quiet, reserved type. I love making friends, socializing, traveling, and exploring different hobbies. So painting is just another hobby of mine. I don't intend to make a living out of it. After years of rigorous study, I have one singular goal: to attend the top university in my country, pursue advanced studies abroad, and dedicate myself to scientific research. Even if I can't join the research institute, I'd still love to be an educator. Shin Yujo might be my future partner. How could he not know what I truly want? I could never be content as just a housewife. This was the dream of my teenage years. The goal I've relentlessly pursued, the future I once carved into my heart. Shin Yujo froze. After a long pause, he finally asked, you're saying I lied? He frowned. What exactly did I lie to you about? You're my wife. I've already proven that to you. I looked into his eyes. Then am I truly happy? Shin Yujo's lips parted, but no words came out. How could you not be happy? He forced a smile. I give you plenty of money. Bought you a big house. All your friends envy you. In an almost pleading tone, he coaxed softly, Jianing, I truly need you to come back. I promise I'll treat you right. Can we stay together as lovers? Though I still didn't understand this time travel scenario, I wasn't a fool. The desperation in Shin Yujo's eyes wasn't a reflection of his love for me. It was more like he'd already foreseen the disastrous failure of his mission and saw me as his last hope for a comeback. In other words, he was just using me. I'm sorry. But my heart belongs to someone else. I smiled at him and slowly stepped back. If this will make you fail your mission, then I'm sorry. 12. Shin Yujo shouted at me, Luo Jianing. His voice trembled as he desperately tried to grab me. Don't I love you? I went to book signings with you, bought you comics, took you to movies, showed you so many places. It's fine if you don't remember me now, but I'm your future husband. Just accept me first, and I'll take you home with me. And it wasn't supposed to be like this, he stammered incoherently. We were desk mates in high school, always sneaking out during evening study sessions. We went to college together, and got married after graduation. This was supposed to be our ending. Shin-Yujo's eyes were bloodshot, his voice a guttural growl. Did you also get reborn? Are you saying this to get back at me? I said calmly, I don't know what you're talking about. As for the future you mentioned, that's your life. Who I like now, which university I choose, those are my decisions. My future belongs to me alone. I won't force myself to like someone I have no interest in, nor will I gamble my future away to become some housewife for you. He stood frozen as his limbs began fading into transparency. I knew then he'd be the first one eliminated from this game. Ningjia, who do you like? Shin-Yujo murmured, his lips turning pale. I laughed. It's Lu Jian, 13, when we got back to school. Classes were still in session. I slipped in through the back door of the classroom and whispered to Su Meng. Did the teacher notice how long Shin-Yujo and I were gone? Shin-Yujo, Su Meng asked puzzled. Who's Shin-Yujo? Seeing me frozen, she whispered, are you hallucinating from period cramps? You went off campus alone to get pain meds when I offered to go with you. I glanced at the seat beside me, completely empty, just as expected, as if no one had ever been here. So failure means vanishing from this world, erased without a trace. I wonder what kind of life Shin-Yujo is living in that other world. Since everyone has forgotten Shin-Yujo's existence, then I'll pretend we've never met either. After school, Lu Jian waited for me out of habit, but I dawdled with my backpack, preoccupied with thoughts about Li Ruoyan. Limping slightly, Li Ruoyan thanked him politely. Thank you, but my father's picking me up today. I've already informed the teacher, so you needn't trouble yourself. Only then did I realize Lu Jian had been giving her rides home before. The homeroom teacher asked him to do it. What else are you looking at? Lu Jian looked down at me. Let's head back. You wasted the whole afternoon and didn't pay attention to any of the key problems the teacher explained. Let's see how you'll handle your homework tonight. Me. I walked home with Lu Jian in the evening. I dragged my feet the whole way. I remembered Shin-Yujo saying during the day that Lu Jian would end up all alone. How pitiful. What's on your mind? Lu Jian suddenly asked. I smiled and said, nothing much, just wondering what I'll be like in the future. Oh, Lu Jian said casually, then just ask me. I'd know. I froze for a second. You knew. In the future, you'll complete your bachelor's and master's degrees, go abroad for further studies, then return to join a biotech research institute. He drew out his words, just never got around to dating, lifetime single status, you know. Not only that, but his desk even had the anime merch I designed on display. Zhao suddenly remembered something and frantically rummaged through her school bag. It's gone. That signed art book is missing. Just because Shin-Yujo disappeared, does that mean everything he gave me has to vanish too? What's wrong? Lu Jian scoffed at my bewildered expression. Lost something? I made a long face. Yeah, I queued all afternoon for it. Found something. Is this yours? Lu Jian pulled a sketchbook from his backpack and handed it to me. My eyes lit up with excitement the moment I looked down at it. How did you know it was this one? How'd you find out? Where'd you get it? Did you buy it? I was chattering away like a sparrow when Lu Jian dug at his ear. Had a friend bring it over. Aren't you a fan of this manga artist? Hugging the art book contentedly, I frowned slightly, but I don't remember telling you that. That's why I say I've got the third eye. I know exactly what you're thinking. Lu Jian nudged me forward. Hurry up. We've got homework waiting back home. If you keep asking basic questions, I won't help anymore. You need to figure out the solutions yourself. Lu Jian's palm was gentle yet strong. These same hands had pulled me up time and again when I hit rock bottom. Streetlights flickered on one by one in the evening, illuminating the alleyway home. The end. Story 2. Lu Jian fell in love with the female college student we sponsored together, to marry her. He was willing to break ties with his parents and cancel our engagement. Later, when the college student disappeared, Lu Jian changed his mind and married me. 10 years later, my family's company was swallowed by the Lu family. My parents passed away from illness, and Lu Jian locked me in a mental hospital. This is the retribution for you tearing me and Jingjing apart. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day 10 years ago when Lu Jian wanted to break off our engagement. Facing Lu Jian's parents who refused to cancel the engagement, I smiled and said, since the two of them truly love each other, uncle and aunt should let them be together. As for my engagement with Lu Jian, let it be publicly dissolved here today. 1. When Lu Jian came to see me, I had already been tortured beyond recognition, unable to even tell whether I was truly ill or not. The moment he appeared, I rushed toward him, desperate to ask why he had treated me this way, but before I could reach him, I tripped over the iron shackle around my ankle. Her head happened to knock against Lu Jin's feet, looking utterly disheveled. The doctor who entered with Lu Jin explained, "Miss Wen is severely ill and keeps trying to escape, so we had to restrain her with chains." As he spoke, he cautiously observed Lu Jin's expression, afraid of inadvertently offending this figure now standing at the pinnacle of North City, but Lu Jin acted as if he hadn't heard, maintaining the same aloof expression as when he entered, looking down at me with disdain. It took a long time before I heard him speak. "Wen, living a life worse than death must be unbearable, isn't it?" "Why?" I asked, lifting my head to look at him. With just one glance from Lu Jin, those people tactfully left. Only when we were alone did he slowly crouch down in front of me, with a cruel smile at the corner of his mouth. "This is the retribution for tearing me and Jingjing apart, Jingjing." It took me a long time to recall a vague figure. So all these years he had never forgotten Su Jingjing. "Back then, you forced Jingjing to leave, then pressured me into marrying you. Wen, you never imagined you'd end up like this, did you?" Lu Jin's hard-soled leather shoe stepped on my hand and ground down. The pain made me furrow my brows. "Back then, Su Jingjing clearly took Aunt Lu's money to leave, so how did it become me forcing her away now? Moreover, when I later married him, it was Lu Jin and his parents who came to plead for the union. Back then, it was clearly you and your parents who begged me to marry you. When did I ever force you?" I don't know which word in my sentence angered him, but Lu Jin suddenly reached out and grabbed my throat. "If I didn't marry you, would your father have stepped in to help the Lu family through their crisis? If this isn't coercion, what is?" In his eyes, my father's wholehearted goodwill was somehow twisted into pressure. "So you maliciously took over my father's company and destroyed my family." I stared at Lu Jin in disbelief. Back when Su Jingjing left, Lu Jin knelt before me to apologize, begging me to forgive his momentary lapse of judgment. I thought he had truly changed his ways, so out of consideration for our childhood friendship, I forgave him and agreed to marry him. Today is Jingjing's death anniversary. Lu Jin suddenly tightened his grip around my neck. "Has Su Jingjing already died?" Wen, go and apologize to her." Under Lu Jin's instructions, I'd been forcibly medicated by them during this period. Even if I'm unwilling now, I can't muster any strength to resist. If only I could go back 10 years. That's what I thought before losing consciousness. Too, the moment I saw Lu Jin rushing in with Su Jingjing, I realized I had been reborn. That's exactly how he was in my previous life. At Uncle Lu's birthday banquet, disregarding all our dignity, he directly rushed to me with Su Jingjing in tow. He said, "Wen, Jingjing and I are truly in love, so I want to break off our engagement." Before I could recover from the shock of rebirth, I just stared blankly at Lu Jin's resolute expression before me. Aunt Lu standing beside me pulled me back slightly. She frowned and stepped between me and Lu Jin, sharply saying, "Today is your father's birthday banquet. What's wrong with you? Causing a scene in front of so many guests." "I want to break off the engagement with Wen." The vast banquet hall suddenly fell silent, with everyone looking at Lu Jin. Everything was just like in my past life. My parents gave the Lu family their last shred of dignity by not making a scene on the spot, instead asking Lu Jin, "Do you know what you're saying?" Lu Jin turned to look at Su Jingjing, who was cowering beside him, and said solemnly, "Uncle, I don't love Wen. I want to break off the engagement with her." As soon as he finished speaking, Uncle Lu rushed forward and slapped Lu Jin across the face. "You disgrace, if you keep spouting nonsense, I'll beat you to death right here." No one dared to intervene. Just as Uncle Lu was about to strike again, my father stopped him. "Old Lu." My father glanced back at me and continued, "Since the child is unwilling, let's just forget it. Forced affection isn't sweet, and our Wan isn't unmarriageable. This engagement shall, in my past life." My parents were never satisfied with this marriage arrangement. They only tolerated it because it was decided by my grandfather, and they thought I also liked Lu Jin, so they never said anything. Now that the Lu family publicly proposed to break off the engagement, they naturally couldn't be happier, but Lu Jin's parents disagreed. This marriage was arranged by our parents. Lu Jin's reckless words shouldn't be taken seriously. Aunt Lu knew my parents never approved of Lu Jin, so she turned to persuade me instead. "Wan, you and Lu Jin have shared so many years of feelings, you can't just call it quits like this. Don't worry, leave this matter to me to handle. Auntie will definitely give you an explanation." Indeed, in the previous life, it was Aunt Lu who stepped in, using both threats and incentives. ultimately giving Su Jingjing 2 million to leave Yunqing. Yet 10 years later, Lu Jin blamed me and my parents for his failure to be with Su Jingjing. Thinking of the regrets from my past life, I lowered my gaze and gently pushed Aunt Lu's hand away. Auntie, since Lu Jin says they're truly in love, you should just let them be. As for my engagement with Lu Jin, I glanced at Lu Jin's surprised expression and declared firmly, as for my engagement with Lu Jin, let it be dissolved here today in front of everyone. The voice wasn't loud, but every person present heard it clearly. Aunt Lu still wanted to persuade me, but my mother stopped her. Since your son wants to break off the engagement, and Wanwan agrees, then this matter is settled. After speaking, they took me away. On the way, my parents said many things to comfort me. Seeing my parents after so long, my nose tingled and I couldn't hold back my tears. My father hugged me just like when I was a child. Don't cry, our Wanwan mustn't cry, it's just a man, isn't it? Dad will find you a better one later. They all thought I was upset because of Lu Jin, only I knew that I was grateful for heaven's favor, giving me a chance to be reborn and see my parents again. As soon as I got home, my dad mysteriously went into his study. When I passed by the study, I heard him talking to someone on the phone, and it seemed like he mentioned me. Even after being reborn, I still have nightmares from my past life. Early in the morning, I woke up from a dream in shock. I heard the doorbell ringing as I came out of the bedroom. Opening the door, I saw a man who looked both familiar and unfamiliar standing outside. Although his nearly perfect facial features were still recognizable, the aura he carried was completely different from when he was 18. Little uncle, I exclaimed in surprise. Jiang Yuzhou and I stared at each other in stunned silence for a long moment. Only when I called out to him did he chuckle lightly. Why so obedient now? Weren't you always refusing to call me that before? 3. Jiang Yuzhou was summoned to the study by my father. When my mother asked me to deliver some fruits, I overheard him saying, arrived after 4 a.m. The old house wasn't ready yet, so I came straight here. Knew you wake up early. That's why I dared to disturb, just didn't expect. It was Wanwan who opened the door. My father frowned, somewhat displeased. Waited outside for over 3 hours, why not knock? We have guest rooms. Seeing me standing outside the door, my father suddenly stopped talking. This is Jiang Yuzhou, your grandpa Zhang's youngest son, do you remember? He asked me. Seeing me nod, my father's smile suddenly took on a meaningful look. Good that you remember. Breakfast was made by the housekeeper. At the dinner table, my parents kept asking Jiang Yuzhou how life had been abroad all these years, with big brother and second sister around. You know how my eldest brother's temper is. Jiang Yuzhou smiled wryly, composed and elegant. I don't have much impression of Jiang Yuzhou's eldest brother. After Grandpa Jiang passed away, almost all the Jiang family members went abroad. Only Jiang Yuzhou insisted on staying in Beijing to finish high school. But Grandpa Jiang had his son late in life, so the whole family doted on Jiang Yuzhou, especially his eldest brother and second sister. So Jiang and Zhou must have been living well abroad these years. Just as my dad was about to ask something, Auntie suddenly came in saying there were guests. The Lu couple brought their son over. Before Auntie even finished speaking, Mrs. Lu had already entered. Wanwan, it was Lu Jin's fault yesterday. We brought him here to apologize to you. My parents completely changed from their previous warm and friendly demeanor toward Jiang and Zhou, coldly telling them to leave. Let's just forget about this matter. No need for apologies. Aunt Lu proactively came to my side. After all these years of shared feelings between them, how can we just let it go? Wanwan, Auntie knows you truly like Lu Jin. You see. Before she could finish speaking, Lu Jin, who had just entered behind her, suddenly asked me upon seeing Jiang Yuzhou. Why is he back? Everyone's gaze simultaneously turned toward Jiang Yuzhou. My father coughed twice and said displeasedly, Yuzhou is a guest in our home. He glanced at Lu Jin, then turned his head to look at Uncle Lu. Old Lu, it was your Lu Jin who publicly demanded to annul the engagement. Everything that needed to be said was made clear yesterday in front of everyone. Words once spoken cannot be taken back. This engagement is already void. I think apologies are unnecessary. We still have guests at home, so please leave now. My father's firm stance and blunt words somewhat embarrassed Lu Jin's parents. The atmosphere became tense and awkward. I just got back and still have some unfinished matters to attend to. I'll take my leave today and visit another day. Jiang Yuzhou glanced at his wristwatch before standing up and speaking to my father. In my memory, he's always been like this even though he was pampered by those around him while growing up. Jiang Yuzhou never developed any spoiled arrogance. On the contrary, he is more cultured than the average person, knowing when to advance and retreat. Given my family's current situation, it's indeed not suitable for him to stay any longer. My father went to see Jiang Yuzhou off, while Lu Jin looked at me with a complicated expression, his tone somewhat sharp. We just called off our engagement yesterday, and today Jiang Yuzhou returns to the country. How remarkably swift. This statement couldn't help but remind me of something that happened a very, very long time ago. I always thought that before Su Jingjing appeared, Lu Jin might have loved me. He also got jealous because of other guys around me. When I said I wanted wontons at night, he searched the entire North City for me. But all those past moments have become yesterday's wind. Now Su Jingjing has replaced the former me, becoming the one who holds Lu Jin's heart. Auntie, you all should go back. Lu Jin has found true love, and I sincerely wish him happiness. I ignored Lu Jin and withdrew my hand from Auntie Lu's embrace. Just as I was about to turn and go upstairs, I heard Lu Jin shout loudly behind me, Wan, do you think I came here today to beg you again? Do you think I wanted to come here myself? Aside from your privileged background and having good parents, what else about you compares to Jingjing? I frowned and turned away, not understanding why he suddenly said these words. Before I could speak, Uncle Lu's slap landed on Lu Jin's face. Have you forgotten what you promised me and your mom before coming here? You heard it too. When Wan is determined to sever ties with our family, Lu Jin shouted defiantly. If that's the case, why are you still forcing me to beg her? Why won't you let me marry Jingjing? Apart from her background, in what way is Jingjing inferior to Wan? Watching Lu Jin shouting and making a scene like a ridiculous monkey here, I suddenly laughed. I curved my lips. Yes, uncle and aunt, they are truly in love. Please give them your blessing. In my past life, Lu Jin blamed me for standing in the way, causing him and Su Jingjing to miss their happy ending. This lifetime, I want to see if they can truly live happily ever after without me in the picture. My words undoubtedly added fuel to the fire. Not only did Uncle Lu lose face and nearly resort to violence in front of outsiders, but even Auntie Lu was scolding him. Suddenly, a figure rushed in through the door. The housekeeper tried to stop them but failed. I recognized her as Su Jingjing. She stepped forward, shielding Lu Jin behind her. Uncle and aunt, it's all my fault. If you want to hit someone, hit me. It was my wishful thinking to like Lu Jin. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Then she turned to me again. Miss Wen, please forgive me. Lu Jin did nothing wrong. The mistake is all mine. I couldn't control my own heart. I watched coldly as Su Jingjing pretended to be pitiful in front of me, saying nothing. This farce became increasingly exaggerated, and the first one who couldn't stand it was my mom. She directly called the neighborhood security guards to come and kick them out. My affair with Lu Jin became known to everyone in Beijing. There were plenty of people gossiping behind my back. Even when attending a press conference, the looks people gave me were filled with judgment. It wasn't until Lu Jin appeared at the press conference holding Su Jingjing's hand that the surrounding gazes shifted slightly. In my peripheral vision, staff members were leading those two toward me. I glanced up to check the seating arrangement by the organizers. Lu Jin's seat was indeed in the same row as mine, with just one seat separating us. This front row was considered the main seating area of the press conference. After Lu Jin took his seat, Su Jingjing also prepared to sit next to him. I raised an eyebrow with a smile, saying nothing. Sure enough, the staff stopped her the next moment. Miss, this is the main seating area. Please proceed to the guest seats at the back. The staff's voice wasn't loud, but it was enough for those of us sitting nearby to hear. Originally, when Lu Jin and Su Jingjing arrived, everyone's attention was already focused on them. Now with this commotion, those onlookers were even more eagerly watching the drama unfold. Su Jingjing awkwardly straightened up, feeling flustered under everyone's gaze as she hurriedly explained, I came here with Lu Jin. The staff member politely said, Mr. Lu Jin didn't inform us in advance that he would bring someone. All seats in this row are occupied. Please take a seat in the back. Su Jingjing remained standing still, clutching her skirt as she gazed at Lu Jin. Under the dim lighting, one could still see glimmers in the corners of Su Jingjing's eyes. Whether they were decorative sparkles or tears from fright was unclear. Lu Jin stood beside her, whispering words of comfort, seemingly urging her to take a seat at the back. I've never been to this kind of event before. I'm scared without you by my side, Su Jingjing murmured with a sob, casting a glance at me nearby. Then sit here. Lu Jin's heart had already softened as he held Su Jingjing's hand to sit down. The staff spoke up again. Sir, this seat is already taken. Please don't make things difficult for us, onlookers began murmuring. What's this woman thinking? Doesn't she know her place? Daring to fight for the main seat's center position, not even married yet, but already acting like Mrs. Liu. I could hear these words, and of course, Lu Jin and Su Jingjing could too. Su Jingjing froze mid-sit. And even Lu Jin's face showed embarrassment. I didn't say anything, didn't even glance at them, just kept my eyes down as I sat in my seat. But of course, there's always someone who can't stand me staying out of it. Lu Jin suddenly called my name. Wenwan, what are you laughing at? I turned around in confusion. Was I laughing? How come I didn't notice? Maybe I just couldn't help it. It's understandable that Jingjing is unfamiliar with such occasions since it's her first time attending. /O. I nodded. This is Su Jingjing's first time attending. But is it yours too? If you love her so much, why didn't you brief her beforehand and let her embarrass herself just now? Lu Jin's expression grew increasingly grim. Just as he was about to retort, the venue lights suddenly brightened. A commotion arose at the entrance, drawing everyone's attention, mine included. The person entering was Jiang Yuzhou, dressed in an impeccably elegant formal suit. Looking completely different from when he appeared outside my home that day. As he walked over, many of Beijing's elite proactively approached him to strike up conversations. Even though the Jiang family's main businesses had relocated abroad, the Jiang still held a distinctive status in Beijing. Jiang Yuzhou maintained a perfectly polite smile throughout, his demeanor courteous yet distant. The moment he looked up, his gaze happened to collide with mine as I was observing him. I froze slightly, offered a polite smile, then pretended nothing happened as I averted my eyes. Lu Jin and Su Jingjing were still standing there. A staff member said helplessly, Mr. Lu Jin, could you please ask this young lady to take her seat in the back? As Jiang and Zhou approached, he glanced at the standing Lu Jin and the other person, then he walked straight up to me and extended his hand. Wenwan, long time no see. I assumed he was treating me specially only out of respect for my father. The staff member urged Su Jingjing to leave again. When I turned my head, Lu Jin was staring blankly at my hand clasped with Jiang Yuzhou's. Someone jokingly said, Lu Jin, if you can't bear to part, why don't you accompany her to sit in the guest seats at the back? Unexpectedly, Lu Jin actually took her to the back seats. I sneered inwardly. He really does like Su Jingjing. It's easy to move from the host's seat to the guest seat, but getting back might not be so simple. 5. After Jiang and Zhou appeared at the press conference, everyone was speculating about why he returned to the country. I asked my dad, the Jiang family's businesses are all overseas, so why has Jiang Yuzhou suddenly come back now? My dad gave me a meaningful look and said, he came back because he wanted to. Why do you care so much? As if suddenly remembering something, he sat back down beside me and stared at me, asking, what? Do you care about him that much? I shook my head, no. I'm just a little curious. In my memory, Jiang Yuzhou didn't return to the country at this time in my previous life. I only remember that on the day I married Lu Jin, my father received a phone call, after which he seemed somewhat distracted throughout the wedding. After a long time, I heard the news of his passing from others. Come to think of it, the day of his accident was the same day as your wedding with Lu Jin. My rebirth seems to have truly changed many things. I called off the engagement with Lu Jin, and Jiang Yuzhou didn't pass away on my wedding day either. Over the weekend, my parents invited Jiang Yuzhou over for dinner. During the meal, they jokingly brought up the time when Jiang Yuzhou and I were kids. Back then, we tried to get Wanwan to call you uncle, but she just wouldn't do it no matter what. Jiang Yuzhou glanced at me with a smile. Now you're finally willing to call me that. Jiang Yuzhou is only a year older than me. We used to play together often as kids, but back then when he asked me to call him uncle, I really couldn't bring myself to say it. I was too young to understand back then. I replied casually. My father was in a good mood and had been drinking, so he was more talkative than usual. Even as a child, you were always drawn to good looks. You thought Yuzhou was handsome and would cling to him all the time, even saying you wanted to marry him someday. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone burst into laughter. Jiang and Zhou pursed their lips, their slightly lowered eyes brimming with amusement. The blush on their faces spread all the way to their earlobes. Not only was I not embarrassed by my father's words, but I also secretly marveled at how good my taste had been as a child. Jiang and Zhou are indeed very good-looking, both when they were young and now. After dinner, my parents asked me to see Jiang and Zhou off, but we unexpectedly ran into Lu Jin and Su Jingjing on the way. Lu Jin lives in the same residential area as my family. They were standing outside the Lu family's villa. apparently having just come out as well. I heard Su Jingjing sobbing softly, "Your parents look down on me, they think I'm just a poor student from the mountains. They like Wenwan, they believe only Wenwan is worthy of you." Lu Jin kept patiently comforting her, but his words to Su Jingjing were stepping on me. Wenwan just got lucky with her birth, she's hypocritical and always putting on airs. Aside from her family background, there's nothing about her that compares to you. Su Jingjing's mood improved slightly. "Really? But everyone says Wenwan is prettier than me too." "I don't think so. Wenwan's looks are just average. In my heart, you're still the more beautiful one." Unconsciously, both Jiang Yuzhou and I stopped walking, standing still as Lu Jin and Su Jingjing took turns belittling me in perfect harmony. We weren't standing too far from Lu Jin. He quickly noticed me. "Wenwan." Lu Jin glanced at me, then at Jiang Yuzhou standing beside me. "It's so late, why are you two together?" With Jiang Yuzhou present, I didn't want to get too entangled with Lu Jin in front of him. When I reached out to pull Jiang Yuzhou away, he remained standing still. I thought young Master Lu had poor eyesight and wouldn't notice us. This was the first time I heard Jiang Yuzhou speak to someone in such an impolite tone. He glanced at me, then at Su Jingjing. "If you have eye problems, go see a doctor." Lu Jin, after saying that, he bent down to take my hand and walked past Lu Jin and Su Jingjing. After walking some distance, I heard Su Jingjing crying again. Lu Jin was still comforting her, but his tone carried a hint of impatience. After walking a bit further, Jiang Yuzhou finally released my hand. "Sorry, I knew he was apologizing for holding my hand earlier." "It's fine." I waved my hand dismissively. 6. It was already a month later when I found out Su Jingjing was pregnant. Now that the woman has a child, shouldn't the Lu family agree to let her in? I think it'll probably happen soon. The two people speaking were female companions brought by Jiang and Zhou's friends. At that moment, I was sitting on the club's sofa, half listening to their conversation. Only I knew clearly that the Lu family's financial problems were gradually emerging at this time, and Lu Jin's parents would absolutely never allow Su Jingjing to marry into the family. They were still counting on my Wen family to bail them out. When Jiang Yuzhou placed a dessert in front of me, the people at the card table behind us burst into suggestive laughter. "Yuzhou, you made all of us wait just to fetch food for Miss Wen. Do I not have waitstaff here?" Some of these people were wealthy heirs who had just returned from abroad, while others were old acquaintances of Jiang Yuzhou from Beijing. While they chatted, I quietly ate the dessert Jiang Yuzhou had brought me, though my ears remained attentive to their conversation. Hearing them mention the Lu family, I unconsciously curved my lips slightly. I thought to myself that it wasn't in vain for me to actively approach Jiang Yuzhou during this time, showing him goodwill and having him introduce me to this circle. The Lu family somehow got wind of it and had already been contacting people from my company. Upon hearing this, I put down my spoon. Jiang and Zhou, who had been chatting with them, were the first to look up at me. The dessert was barely touched. He asked me, "Don't like it?" I shook my head. "I'm cutting back on sugar lately." He nodded and had it taken away. Several of his friends were calling him over to play cards. Jiang Yuzhou didn't go immediately, but instead turned his head to ask me, "Want to play cards?" Looking into his eyes, I pretended to hesitate for a moment. "I don't know how." "No problem, I'll teach you." Jiang Yuzhou sat me down at the card table. "If we lose, it's on me. If we win, it's yours." As soon as he finished speaking, those people started laughing again, settling with Zhou. "Then let's make it bigger." Jiang and Zhou seemed to be deliberately waiting for him to say this, raising their eyes to look at the speaker. "How about we bet on that deal between your family and the Lu family?" He smiled carelessly, but his light-hearted words left everyone at the card table somewhat shocked. "If I win the Lu family's deal for the Wen family, I'll give you that project we discussed the other day. If I lose, /holy shit, the person sitting across from me stared at Jiang Yuzhou in disbelief, the Lu family deal is only worth a few million. But your project is over 100 million, Hearing this, I was also stunned. Jiang Yuzhou, however, remained nonchalant as he smiled and asked, "Wanna bet, The other person glanced at me. "Bet, you, Jiang Yuzhou, dare to gamble with $1 billion project just to make a beauty smile? What's the Lu family's business deal worth?" Thinking about Jiang Yuzhou's $1 billion project, my hand holding the cards trembled slightly. Jiang Yuzhou seemed to notice and leaned down to whisper reassuringly in my ear, "It's fine, just play casually." Fortunately, we won in the end. How could I lose this? The opponent threw their cards back onto the table. Jiang and Zhou looked down at me, smiling without a word, their expressions still calm, yet I felt relieved. when mentioning the Liu family's business deal again. I smiled and said, "Don't worry, whatever the Liu family promised, our Wen family will match it. We won't let you lose out on this deal." As I left the club, I happened to see Lu Jin staggering out of the adjacent hotel. The person accompanying him was someone I recognized, a manager from the company of the man who had been sitting across from me earlier. Lu Jin was all smiles, personally escorting that manager to his car. As he turned around, he froze for a moment when he saw me. Su Jingjing, standing beside the Liu family, noticed his unusual reaction and also looked over. She whispered something into Lu Jin's ear, and the two of them left together. The Liu family will eventually be ruined by Lu Jin, bringing a pregnant woman to a business meeting. What a breach of etiquette, don't you know? The young master of the Liu family takes that woman everywhere these days. After they left, I heard the remaining people mutter disdainfully. Early the next morning, while driving to the office, I received a call from Lu Jin. "Wan, was that intentional?" I curled my lips into a smile. "Isn't this just how business works?" These were the exact words Lu Jin said to me in my past life when he maliciously took over my family's company. Now I'm returning them to him verbatim. "You're targeting me and the Liu family just because I called off the engagement, aren't you? I'm so glad I broke it off with you back then. The thought of spending my life with someone like you makes me sick." Lu Jin's voice carried a tone of flustered exasperation. "Oh really?" I retorted with a cold laugh. "Given the Liu family's current situation, do I even need to target them? Lu Jin, do you think this single deal can revive the Liu family? You're being naive. I suggest you go home and ask about the Liu family's actual situation first." Ridiculous. If just one deal could save the Liu family, then in their past life, Lu Jin's parents wouldn't have been so desperate to force Lu Jin into marrying me. I think in their past life, after Su Jingjing disappeared, Lu Jin compromised and came to beg for my forgiveness, probably because they learned about the Liu family's situation. Lu Jin's parents only revealed the Liu family's true financial situation to us after marriage. In the end, my father exhausted all our resources to barely save the Liu family from the brink of bankruptcy, solely for my sake. But later, when Lu Jin gained power, the first thing he did was maliciously take over my family's company. On the phone, Lu Jin suddenly fell silent, then after a long pause asked me, "Then why did you still snatch this business deal?" "Why? Because I also want Lu Jin to experience the despair our family went through in our past life. Make him watch as hope slowly crumbles before his eyes. Let him feel the same resentment when my family was nearly driven to bankruptcy by him. When my father drank until he vomited blood to secure a deal, only to have it snatched away by him the next day." I didn't answer and simply hung up the phone. Given the Liu family's current situation, if I wanted to take advantage of their misfortune, they'd have to declare bankruptcy by tomorrow, but I'm unwilling to do that. I want to watch Lu Jin struggle desperately with my own eyes. I want him to understand that even without me, Wan, standing between them, he and Su Jingjing would never have a happy ending. 7. I saw Lu Jin again at a charity gala. After not seeing him for several months, he had become much thinner, giving off a somewhat different impression than before. I was somewhat surprised not to see Su Jingjing by his side this time. When Lu Jin saw me, he visibly froze for a moment, his gaze filled with too many emotions. He took the initiative to speak to me, his tone markedly different from before. "Long time no see." I didn't want to engage with him, but Lu Jin kept talking to himself. "You never liked attending these kinds of events before. There were times I asked you to accompany me, and you refused." I frowned. The memory is too distant. I can hardly recall what he said. "You came with Jiang Yuzhou, didn't you?" Lu Jin suddenly shifted the topic to Jiang Yuzhou. I impatiently grunted and immediately met Jiang Yuzhou's gaze as he looked over. There was still a hint of amusement in Jiang Yuzhou's eyes until he noticed Lu Jin standing beside me. I don't know what he said after tilting his head to the person beside him, but then that person also turned to glance at me. Then Jiang and Zhou strode toward me. I put down my wine glass, ignoring Lu Jin who was still chattering beside me, and walked toward Jiang and Zhou as well. For some reason, I just felt like Jiang and Zhou seemed displeased. The feeling became even more pronounced as I sat with Jiang Yuzhou in the VIP area specially prepared by the organizers. When we attended such events together before, Jiang Yuzhou's attention was always on me, but now he had been talking to the person beside him for a long time, as if deliberately refusing to turn and look at me. I feigned another cough. Jiang Yuzhou beside me sighed softly and raised his hand to ask a staff member for a cup of hot water. "If your throat is uncomfortable, don't drink alcohol." as I took the hot water, I asked him, Jiang Yuzhou, are you unhappy? Jiang Yuzhou neither admitted nor denied it, he only said, I don't have the right to be unhappy yet, a baffling sentence, yet I suddenly understood it. That person behind you has been staring at you for quite a while, aren't you going to say something? His tone carried obvious jealousy as he spoke. I didn't need to turn around to know he was talking about Lu Jin, who had been watching me intently. Lu Jin was sitting among the regular guests, maintaining a not-so-close distance from me. Throughout the entire party, Lu Jin was either looking at me or finding opportunities to strike up a conversation with a foreigner. Of course I knew that foreigner. He was a well-known figure in investment banking. In my past life, after the Lu family came clean about their situation, my father went to great lengths to establish a connection with this overseas investor, persuading him to lend a helping hand to the Lu family. I just never expected Lu Jin to approach him on his own in this lifetime. A sudden guess flashed through my mind. Noticing my fixed gaze in that direction, Jiang Yuzhou also turned to glance over. Then he asked me, Mr. Hopes and I are friends, would you like to meet him? I withdrew my gaze and looked at Jiang Yuzhou beside me. You must have noticed that I deliberately approached you earlier to get you to introduce me to your friends. Jiang Yuzhou nodded with a light laugh. Now I want to meet that overseas investor. Are you willing to take me there? He nodded again, his gaze at me soft as water, even his smile tinged with adoration. Of course I'm willing. I frowned, stared at him for a long moment before voicing my doubt. Jiang Yuzhou, you don't like me, do you? 8. Thinking about Lu Jin's unusual behavior that day. While chatting with a friend, I casually asked, how are Lu Jin and Su Jingjing doing? Is the Lu family still refusing to let her in? My friend paused, perhaps surprised that I suddenly brought up Lu Jin on my own. After losing the baby in Su Jingjing's womb, Lu Jin drove her out of Beijing. Oh, that's something I haven't heard before. Because of your relationship with Lu Jin, no one dared to say it in front of you. The Lu family's business ran into trouble, and Lu Jin was swamped with work during that period. That Su Jingjing kept making scenes, suspecting he had someone else. During their argument, somehow Su Jingjing's child was lost. By the way, my friend suddenly asked me, did you know Lu Jin faints at the sight of blood? Lu Jin faints at blood. I've known him for 2 lifetimes and never knew he had that condition. When Su Jingjing had a miscarriage with heavy bleeding, Lu Jin actually passed out upon seeing the blood. When he woke up again, everyone said he had changed. Hearing this, my heart sank. It seems my earlier guess was correct. Lu Jin might have been reborn just like me. That overseas investor we met at the gala recently has a cocktail party in North City. I begged my dad to get me an invitation. My father looked at me meaningfully and said, Yuzhou is quite close with that foreigner. Why don't you just ask him to take you there? I don't want to trouble him. My father glanced at me and said leisurely, he'd be more than happy to be troubled by you. Suddenly, the memory flashed through my mind of that day when I asked Jiang Yuzhou if he liked me. After a long silence, he finally murmured, you only just noticed. Why is your face so red? My dad touched my forehead. The temperature's dropped lately, don't catch a cold. As he stood up to go upstairs, I called out, Dad, did you ask Jiang Yuzhou to come back to the country? My father shook his head. That day I just told him your engagement fell through. Who knew he'd immediately book a flight back? In the evening, I received a call from Jiang Yuzhou. Your father said you want to attend Mr. Hop's cocktail party. Recalling past events, hearing his voice on the phone suddenly made me feel somewhat awkward. After responding gloomily, Jiang Yuzhou asked, do you need me to pick you up tomorrow? His low, husky voice came through the phone, electrifying, sending shivers down my spine as I listened. I declined. No need, I can go by myself. There was a moment of silence afterward, and just as I was about to hang up, I suddenly heard Jiang Yuzhou call my name again, Wan Wan. The way these 2 words rolled off his tongue always gave people a dazed, fluttering feeling. That day you said you'd consider me. How's the consideration going? I was like a cat whose tail got stepped on, hurriedly hanging up the phone. Those words at the time were just to brush him off. Never expected Jiang Yuzhou to take them seriously. While waiting outside for Jiang Yuzhou, I ran into Lu Jin. I turned my head away pretending not to see, but Lu Jin came over without hesitation and spoke to me. Wan Wan, you've come back too, right? Even though I had guessed it long ago, hearing him say it now still felt unbelievable to me. The smile on Lu Jin's face dimmed slightly as he said, you hate me, don't you? Even without getting a response from me, he could keep talking on his own. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you in our past life. Only after your death did I learn that Su Jingjing left because she took money from my mother. She had only approached me for money from the beginning. Wan. Lu Jin gazed at me with deep affection. I'm sorry, can you forgive me one more time? Let's start over in this lifetime, okay? Be my wife again. Give me a chance to make it up to you. I stared fixedly at Lu Jin's hypocritical face before me and said calmly, no, what makes me obligated to forgive you? The sorrow on Lu Jin's face deepened. Didn't you forgive me once in our past life after Su Jingjing appeared? Wan, why can't you do the same in this lifetime? You love me, you've always loved me, so what? Does my affection deserve to be trampled upon? Wan, Jiang Yuzhou's voice came from above me. It wasn't until he draped a coat over my shoulders that the sudden warmth made me realize my body was trembling slightly. Why wait outside in such cold weather? Jiang Yuzhou ignored Lu Jin as he expressed concern for me. I smiled and looked up at him. Didn't you have something to do today? Why did you still come? As he passed by Lu Jin, Jiang Yuzhou glanced at him, afraid you'd get entangled with some inexplicable person. After saying that, he led me inside, at the cocktail party. Lu Jin stayed close to that overseas investor the whole time, watching the smile spread across his face from afar. I guessed in my heart that he had probably reached an agreement. Lu Jin noticed my gaze, and as he looked towards me, I raised my glass and took a sip. Even I hadn't noticed the corners of my mouth were upturned. What are you smiling about? Wan, Jiang Yuzhou suddenly asked me. He stayed by my side all evening, so none of my little actions escaped his notice. Jiang and Zhou rubbed their fingertips together, lowering their eyes as they murmured, I thought you came here to disappoint Lu Jin. His mood suddenly turned somber. Even the light in his eyes when looking at me dimmed slightly. Wan, you still can't bear to let go, can you? Do you still like Lu Jin? 9. As I expected, Lu Jin's parents eventually came to beg my father. After all, overseas investors aren't fools either. They wouldn't just throw hundreds of millions at Lu Jin based solely on his words. They're asking for financing. But where can we find so much money right now? In-law, you're the only one who can save our family now, my father said with a dark expression. Old Lu, our two families have already cancelled the engagement. Let's not call each other in-laws anymore. As for what you mentioned, give me 2 days to think about it. After seeing the guests off, my father asked me. If you still like Lu Jin, Dad will definitely find a way to help them. But Wan, you need to think carefully. Having lived 2 lifetimes, it seems everyone believes I'm hopelessly in love with Lu Jin, but I know deep down that my feelings for him aren't that strong either. I took a sip of water and urged Dad to agree. Since the Lu family is failing, let's invest some money to acquire Lu Corporation. This way, all the investments Lu Jin has painstakingly secured during this period will become stepping stones for me. They'll agree. There are only a few in Beijing with the capability to take over now. If they refuse, the Lu family will have no choice but to declare bankruptcy and shoulder massive debts. My father was stunned and asked me, when did you become so knowledgeable about business matters? I smiled without offering further explanation. Our Wan has truly grown up, my father said while wiping away tears. If you can let go of Lu Jin, your father will be at ease, he said earnestly. That overseas investor is a friend of Zhou Yu. Even he thought you'd save the Lu family because of Lu Jin. I suddenly realized it had been a long time since I last saw Jiang Yuzhou. At the last cocktail party, he seemed to have misunderstood something. Without waiting for my explanation, he left without looking back, only having the driver take me home. Wan, my dad said to me, if you don't like Lu Jin anymore, would you consider Yu Zhou? Let me tell you today, Yu Zhou has liked you for many years. Back then, he insisted on staying in Beijing to finish high school because of you. Later, after the college entrance exams, when you got together with that Lu family boy, he went abroad. I froze for a moment. In high school, someone did say that Jiang and Zhou liked me, but I couldn't believe it back then, not just because I was engaged to Lu Jin, but also because I always thought someone as perfect as him couldn't possibly like anyone. He should never have worldly desires, always standing at the top with a pure and detached heart. At that time, I probably idealized Jiang and Yuzhou to a godlike extent. Did you and Yuzhou have a fight? My dad suddenly asked again. I remained silent. In the evening, I didn't know where my parents went. They never came home. When the doorbell rang, I thought they had returned. But the person standing outside was Jiang Yuzhou. He looked somewhat anxious, carrying a package in his hand, clearly having come straight from work. What brings you here? Your parents said you're sick. He and I spoke at the same time. After learning the whole story, Jiang Yuzhou and I exchanged a knowing smile. As he was about to leave, I called out to him, Jiang Yuzhou. Jiang Yuzhou turned back and looked at me, waiting for me to continue. That day you asked me if I still liked Lu Jin. I paused. Now I'll answer you. I don't like him, not at all. My dad was right, the temperature has dropped recently. That's why when Jiang Yuzhou suddenly rushed over and hugged me, I felt his embrace was so warm. Why explain to me? He buried his head in the crook of my neck, his voice muffled as he spoke. Because I don't want you to misunderstand. 10. On the day of signing the contract with the Liu family, neither Mr. nor Mrs. Liu was willing to sign after reviewing it. Lu Jin silently looked at me for a long time before finally signing the contract. As he handed me the signed contract, he asked, with the contract signed, can we let bygones be bygones? Only he and I knew he was referring to what he had done to me and my family in our past lives. Lu Jin believed that since he maliciously took over my family's company in our past life, it was only fair that I took advantage of the situation to acquire his family's business in this life. I smiled and put the contract away without answering. As I was about to leave, Lu Jin stopped me. Wan, I was truly wrong. Give me one more chance. Okay, wait for me to make a comeback, and we'll get engaged again. Before he could finish speaking, Jiang Yuzhou had already entered from outside. Jiang Yuzhou greeted my father with a smile and then said, I'm here to pick up Wan for her dress fitting. My father quickly nodded and told us to go attend to our own matters. As we reached the door, I heard my father say to Uncle Liu, our Wan is getting engaged to Yuzhou. You're all welcome to attend the engagement banquet when the time comes. Upon hearing this, Lu Jin suddenly rushed out like a madman to stop me and Jiang Yuzhou. Wan, you can't get engaged to him. What right does he have to be engaged to you? I said, because he's my social equal. Lu Jin, after today, you won't even have the right to appear before me again. 11. When I saw the trending topic about Lu Jin, my engagement banquet with Jiang Yuzhou hadn't even ended yet. Hashtag Su Jingjing's body discovered. Hashtag police have obtained evidence of Lu Jin's murder. Hashtag Lu Jin arrested and imprisoned. After learning that Lu Jin had been reborn, I guessed he wouldn't let Su Jingjing off. So I've been secretly searching for her whereabouts. What are you doing here? Jiang Yuzhou found me outside the villa. He glanced at my high heels. Are you tired? I shook my head. It's too stuffy inside. I came out for some fresh air. Yet Jiang and Zhou still gripped my waist, lifting me to sit on the corridor's handrail. Wait here for me. When they returned, Jiang and Zhou were holding a box. As I was guessing what was inside, he opened it right in front of me. Inside was a pair of exquisitely crafted little leather shoes. Jiang and Zhou bent down to put them on for me. The shoes were made of soft leather, fitting perfectly and very comfortable. When did you buy these? I asked him. Jiang and Zhou smiled, his tone light. When I saw them before, I thought they'd look good on you, so I bought them. The doctor who entered with Lu Jin explained, Miss Wan is seriously ill and keeps trying to escape, so we had to restrain her with chains. It wasn't until I went abroad with Jiang and Zhou to sort through his belongings that I realized everything he said was true. In the Western-style house he lived in, apart from a bedroom and study, all other rooms were filled with things he had bought for me over the years. There were expensive jewelry, exquisite dresses, high heels, and many expired lipsticks. Why didn't you send these back home to me after buying them? I asked him when I saw those items. Jiang Yuzhou smiled as he took the gemstone necklace from the display cabinet and personally fastened it around my neck. At that time, I thought you liked someone else. His voice was slightly hoarse, so I didn't dare disturb you. It's evident that Jiang and Zhou are trying hard to conceal their sorrow. I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around his waist. Mr. Jiang, I'll be troubling you a lot from now on. Jiang and Zhou pulled me into an embrace. I heard his clear voice by my ear, carrying a hint of laughter. He replied to me, very well, Mrs. Jiang. Story 2. I've been sworn enemies with Pei Ku for an entire lifetime. Even after we got married, we kept annoying each other. He accompanied his first love to a diamond ring store, while I went to the aquarium with a young college student. But when a freight truck came crashing towards us, he stepped in front of me to shield me. Reborn in a new life, I decided not to compete with him anymore and to fulfill his wish to be with his first love. The unruly young man's eyes turned red for the first time. Xie Qiao, if you want to get rid of me, try in your next life. 1. I opened my eyes. The blackboard filled with white chalk writing was blocked by a tall figure. Pei Ku's sharp and flamboyant face, wearing a provocative smile. came into my view, I felt a bit dazed. It had probably been more than a decade since I last saw him in a school uniform. The blue and white jacket was unbuttoned, and his thick eyebrows were slightly arched. Upon closer inspection, there was a very faint scar at the peak of his eyebrow, adding a bit of an intimidating aura to him. He still looked as annoying as ever. My deskmate said angrily, "Pei-ku, you're stealing Xie Qiao's notes again. Aren't you ashamed to get first place by such means?" That's when I noticed. He was holding a pink notebook in his hand and was tossing it around playfully. He curved his lips unruly. "It's the people who can't get first place that should be ashamed." Just then, a sweet female voice rang out gently, "Pei-ku, don't be like this. What girl would like a boy who likes to bully others?" The white collar of a shirt peeked out from the girl's school uniform jacket, and the drawstring of the linen fabric was tied into a cute bow. She was like the bright and beautiful campus heroine in a youth idol drama. It was Bai Ji, Pei-ku's deskmate and also his future first love. The belle of the computer science department at University A. I didn't have a deep impression of her. I just remembered that she had liked Pei-ku since high school and often followed him around. After the college entrance examination, she and Pei-ku both applied to University A. The last time I saw them was through the transparent glass of a gold store, where I saw her following Pei-ku as they were choosing a ring. After saying that, Bai Ji lowered her head shyly, gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and revealed a sweet smile. For some reason, after hearing her words, Pei-ku was slightly stunned. Then he turned his head awkwardly and his eyes landed elsewhere. He said viciously, "Do I need her to like me? Also, what's that smell on you?" Bai Ji smiled shyly and explained, "This is the natural fragrance of a girl. You boys might not understand. I've had it since I was a child. It stinks." Bai Ji's smile froze on her face. What an idiot straight man. I silently scolded in my heart. Pei-ku turned his gaze back to me and continued the mockery he hadn't finished. "Xie Qiao, listen to me. If you just rely on rote memorization to study science subjects, you might as well not waste your time on the college entrance examination." He had always been sharp-tongued, to the extent that he could probably poison himself just by licking his lips. If I were still 18 years old, I would have already kicked him by now. But now, I suddenly felt a bit tired, too. Pei-ku and I had been sworn enemies since we were children. We would compete in everything. When we played house as children, we would compete to be the emperor. When we were studying, we would compete to be the first. When we were in relationships, we would compare our partners. If he dated the department belle, I had to date the campus heartthrob. We even competed to see who would get married first. Unfortunately, on the day we were supposed to get the marriage certificate, my fiancé ran away with his childhood sweetheart. I grabbed Pei-ku, who was standing nearby and giving me the middle finger in mockery, and dragged him into the Civil Affairs Bureau. I took out my household registration book and slapped it on the counter. "Do you dare to get a marriage certificate? Whoever doesn't dare is a coward." He got angry and also took out his household registration book, and said stubbornly, "Let's get it then." After that, we started a 5-year life as a resentful couple. On our 5th wedding anniversary, he accompanied his first love to a diamond ring store, while I went to the aquarium with a young college student. We both had a bright future. If it hadn't been for that freight truck that crashed into us, I would probably never forget that scene. A huge shadow suddenly loomed over us. In my ears was the ear-piercing screech of the wheels violently rubbing against the asphalt road. Pei-ku almost instantly turned the steering wheel. The car body rotated 90 degrees, and the freight truck crashed into his side. When the huge crashing sound rang out, he hugged me tightly in his arms. Unfortunately, it didn't help much. In the end, we both died in the car accident. On the verge of death, he gently put his lips next to my ear. His voice was weak, but filled with a thick sense of self-mockery. "Xie Qiao, let's not be a couple in the next life," I instinctively wanted to retort. "Who wants to be entangled with you for another lifetime?" But my throat was blocked by the blood chi, and I couldn't say it out loud. Finally, he let out a soft sigh. It seemed like regret, and also like a pity. I completely lost consciousness. Now, seeing his face again, I just felt a sense of melancholy. This handsome and unruly face was worlds apart from the resentful husband appearance he had after we got married in the previous life. Standing beside him, Bai Ji really made a handsome man and a beautiful woman, a perfect couple. My heart was slightly touched. I suddenly didn't want to compete anymore. In the previous life, I lived too competitively and forgot that life was short. I destroyed Pei-ku and also destroyed myself. At the last moment of his life, he was probably regretful. Instead of being with the person he loved, he was painfully entangled with me for a lifetime. In the end, he didn't meet a good end, with a determined look in my eyes. I stood up from my seat, the mockery in his eyes became even stronger. He seemed determined not to give up, but I calmly said, I don't want it anymore. He was stunned, and his eyebrows furrowed slightly. What do you mean? I looked up, looking straight into his cold eyes. I said firmly, I won't compete with you anymore, Pei-ku. From now on, we'll go our separate ways. I don't want to compete with you for anything anymore. Reborn in this new life. I don't want to be a vicious woman from a young age anymore. I want to live a happier life. 3. Pei-ku sneered and turned around to leave. Obviously, he didn't believe what I said. I stuffed the notebook he returned into the drawer. I said to the girl who was still standing there, Bai Ji, thank you. She was stunned for 2 seconds. Then she clenched the hem of her clothes, and her eyes were flustered. You, what did you say? I blinked. I said thank you for speaking up for me just now. She bit her lips tightly and furrowed her delicate eyebrows. After a long time, her eyebrows finally relaxed. She put on her usual sweet smile again, but her tone was a bit strange. Xie Qiao, it turns out that besides Pei-ku, you can also see other people. I was stunned, and it took me a long time to understand what she meant. I regarded Pei-ku as a rival and clung to him tightly. I was determined to beat him. But in the eyes of others, it might not be like that, especially this person, who always paid attention to Pei-ku. In the previous life, if it hadn't been for me, the crush that started in youth might not have been rekindled and come to a happy ending after many years. My heart felt a bit sour. I lowered my head and said softly, I'm sorry. 4. The college entrance examination was approaching soon. The school organized mock exams frequently, since the exams had become routine. The small-scale mock exams were uniformly arranged at our own seats. When it came to the English exam, a head with yellow hair poked out from behind me. He lowered his voice. Top student, let me copy your answers, will you? I looked up. The invigilator was dozing off at the podium, with his eyes opening and closing. I understood. I generously handed my test paper to the person behind me. Damn, you're so generous. Miss Hero. In the end, the results came out. I scored 32 points. And he scored 36 points. He hugged his test paper and wailed, if you didn't want me to copy, you could just say so. You can't play me like this, can you? I could have scored 40 or 50 points even if I took the test myself. He wiped away the non-existent tears. My dad is going to whip me again. The boy sitting behind me was called Wei Ching, a rich young man with dyed yellow hair, because his family donated a building to the school, even if he dyed his hair green. The teachers would turn a blind eye. I flipped through the test paper. I asked curiously, you copied mine, so why did you score higher than me? He looked half dead. I was afraid of getting a perfect score, so I changed several answers. Well, you were lucky. He wailed even louder. I asked him, your family is so rich, why don't they send you to study abroad instead of making you take the domestic college entrance examination? Wei Ching covered his head in pain. Sis, with my English score, do you expect me to be a mute abroad? Why should I spend money to suffer? Isn't it better to be a laid-back rich second generation in China? Anyway, my family is just an upstart. They'll think it's a great honor if I can get into a university. I nodded. No wonder his dad spent a lot of money to get him into class 1. Your total score in this mock exam is 255 points. The cutoff score for the third batch of science majors in undergraduate colleges last year was 357 points. There are still 120 days until the college entrance examination. I'll tutor you. For every 10 points you improve, you give me 1,000 yuan. How about it? I spoke calmly, but my heart was pounding. Wei Ching was stunned for 2 seconds and then laughed. Top student, if you can really help me get into a university, not to mention 1,000 yuan for every 10 points. Even if it's 10,000 yuan, I can afford it. My parents will also give you a big red envelope and be grateful to you. My lips were pressed tightly together. Under the desk where no one could see, my palm clenched into a fist. Then it's a deal. He scratched his head. But, are you really sure you can help me improve my score by that much in 4 months? I looked at him and said calmly, you still have a lot of room for improvement. He pulled a long face. Thank you so much. 5. After the evening self-study ended, I stayed at my seat to write a study plan for Wei Ching. When Pei-ku slammed the ranking list in front of me, his knuckles turned slightly white because he used too much force. I looked up. He was carrying his school bag on one shoulder, and his face looked unpleasant. Xie Qiao, What do you mean? It meant nothing, Pei Ke's, and my scores had always been very close. Since our Chinese and math scores were about the same, I was better than him in English, and he was better than me in comprehensive science, so I gave up on getting a full score in English. I said calmly, I'm giving the first place to you. Isn't that good? He laughed out of anger. Do I need you to give it to me? Even if you get 150 points in English, I'll still beat you by 2 points this time. He raised his eyebrows triumphantly. I lowered my head and continued writing the plan. I perfunctorily said, MMM. He felt like he had punched the air. He exuded a faint sense of restlessness. Until a classmate came over and casually put his arm around his shoulder. That person who loved to watch the excitement, said with a gossipy look on his face, you two almost fought over a question before, now you're even giving up the first place. Brother Pei, could it be that Xie Chao likes you? Both Pei Ke and I froze. The tip of my pen stopped on the paper, leaving a very dark ink mark. The tips of his ears turned slightly red. He kicked the person away and pretended to be fierce. Do I care if she likes me? But his eyes flitted across my face several times uneasily. Alright, stop writing. He forcefully closed my notebook and put it into my school bag. Then he skillfully picked up the school bag. His ears were so red that they seemed to be bleeding. I'll walk you home. I stood up and quickly snatched the school bag from his hand. I looked straight into his eyes firmly. No need, Pei Ke. I don't like you. I hope you don't misunderstand. His hand froze in midair. His expression also turned cold. It was as if time stood still at that moment. My eyes swept over Bai Ji, who was half exposed outside the door. Her hand was tightly gripping the door frame, standing in the wind. She seemed to be on the verge of falling. Bai Ji is still waiting for you at the door. Don't keep her waiting for too long. I picked up my school bag and didn't look back. I quickly walked out of the classroom. Pei Ke, if the end of the original path is a bottomless abyss, you might also thank me for setting everything back on track. 6. When I got home and opened the door, the dim tungsten bulb illuminated the small and shabby room. Grandma came out pushing a wheelchair, wearing a loving smile on her face. Xia Chao is back. Are you hungry? Grandma cooked noodles. Eat them quickly before they get cold. I smiled and replied, okay. I put down my school bag and sat at the old wooden table that was full of scratches and grease stains. I wolfed down the noodles cooked by Grandma. In my ears was Grandma's nagging concern. But my eyes looked through the yellowed glass window and landed on the small Western-style house not far away. That was Pei Ke's home. I hated Pei Ke. I hated him from the first moment I saw him. On the day the Pei family moved in, I was standing behind this glass window. I saw him get out of a beautiful car. He was being held by his affectionate and well-dressed parents, but there was an unhappy expression on his face. At that time, I knew that this uncomfortable and stuffy feeling in my heart was called jealousy, and this hatred reached its peak when he came to give me, his neighbor, imported cookies but stepped on and broke the peach sapling that my mother had planted in front of our house. I picked up a stone and threw it at him. The edge of the stone left a permanent scar at the peak of his eyebrow. Since then, we became sworn enemies who would fight whenever we met. Later, he scored 0.5 points higher than me in the college entrance examination. He became the top science student in the city who always outshone me. I hated him even more, until towards the end of that summer vacation, on a rainy night, Grandma was hit by a car and fainted by the roadside. The driver fled the scene. Pei Ke carried her on his back. He didn't forget to pull me, who was in a state of shock, and rushed to the hospital. Outside the operating room, he stood beside me. He was completely soaked, and his messy hair hung down in front of his forehead. He pressed his lips tightly together and looked at me, who was crying hysterically. Without saying a word, after a long time, he said, I'll go pay the fees. I stared at his retreating back in a daze. That stuffy feeling echoed in my heart again. That day, I realized, it wasn't just jealousy, but also a sense of inferiority, and that inferiority took root in my heart. It feeds like crazy on love. Eat fast. Below shows a piece of white and yellow belly poached eggs. I looked down. The tears keep falling, on time, in harping on the rest of my life. Sometimes I also forget. I'm hate him, love him. 7 in the classroom. Wei Qing covered his ears in pain. He tried to block out the sound of me reciting words, treating it like the chanting of the monk Tang in the story, and ignoring it. I stopped. When he put down his hands covering his ears, I continued to recite. Top student, I admit I was wrong. I shouldn't have wasted time on studying. Why do you have to try to help this piece of mud that can't stick to the wall? I was grading his English composition with a frown. Without even looking up, I said, for money. He asked nonchalantly, Are you really that short of money? I nodded and replied casually. A father who died early, a mother who remarried, a paralyzed grandmother. And a broken her. Ah, no, it's me, so I'm really in need of money. Wei Qing was stunned and put away the cynicism on his face. He opened his mouth but didn't say anything for a long while. His expression was tangled and changing. Finally, he stretched out a palm and placed it on my shoulder. His eyes turned slightly red and he said, "Top student, I will definitely study hard with you and strive to get into university." I was just about to pat the little rich guy's head with relief. A cold and low voice sounded from behind. "What are you two doing?" I looked up. Peika's face was stern, and his lips were tightly pursed. There was no emotion in his ink-black eyes. Peika and I hadn't spoken to each other for several days. Hearing his voice again, it even felt a bit unfamiliar. In the past, because of the competition everywhere, Peika and I seemed to be tied together. Now that I took the initiative to avoid him, I realized that we were just classmates with very little fate. Because of the heavy academic workload, we might not even see each other very often. I averted my gaze. Classmates helping each other. Is there a problem? He gritted his teeth and said in an unfriendly tone, helping each other. What can he, who got 250 points in the exam, help you with? Hey, it's 255 points, Wei Qing interrupted. Peika didn't look at him but just stared at me intently. If you want to help each other, why didn't you come to me? You can still improve in comprehensive science, and I can help you. He lowered his eyes and carefully reached out his hand. He seemed to want to grab my wrist. His tone also softened. If you're angry with me for taking your notes last time, you can scold me a few times. Don't ignore me. Xie Qiao. Bai Ji appeared just in time and interrupted him. I have a physics problem that I don't quite understand. Can you teach me? She held the test paper in her hands, blinked her almond-shaped round eyes, and pleaded softly. Peika frowned and said unceremoniously, I'm sitting right next to you. Why are you asking her? Bring the test paper here. I'll teach you. Don't come to her in the future. He glanced at me and finally retracted his hand. He returned to his seat. Bai Ji's originally tense face relaxed. She turned to look at me with a complicated expression. After hesitating for a long time, she finally opened her mouth reluctantly and said, Xie Qiao. If you don't like Peika, could you please stay away from him? Don't talk to him anymore. My heart suddenly stopped, and a bitter feeling echoed in my chest. I touched my sore nose and forced a smile. Okay, a look of relief appeared on her face. After giving me a delighted smile, she also turned and left. Wei Qing touched his chin. With a look of watching the drama, he said, Why do I feel that these two people are a bit strange? I lowered my eyes. They do seem quite a match, Wei Qing. I don't think so. I put away my pen and handed the composition book to him. Then you have bad eyesight. That's why you wrote house instead of horse. Your house can run, right? Out of the corner of my eye, the figures of the two of them walked away side by side. A slight bitterness welled up in my heart. Peika, without my entanglement, you will be able to lead a better life smoothly, and I also have my own path to pursue. 8. Peika got into a fight with others. On the road I must pass on my way home. When I squeezed through the crowd, I saw that he had a bruise on his face, but he had knocked down 5 or 6 hooligans. Bai Ji stood behind Peika. Her delicate body couldn't stop shaking. There were still dry tear stains on her frightened face. Some students from the same school beside them exclaimed, rescuing the beauty like a hero. So cool. I told you a long time ago that Peika and Bai Ji are a couple. You didn't believe it. The CPI ship is real. I was just about to back out of the crowd, but Bai Ji came over first and took my arm. Her eyes were moist, and she looked up at me pitifully. Xie Qiao, those people just now pushed me first. I was speechless. In fact, even if she didn't say it, I knew. That's why Peika fought with them. They already liked each other. How could Peika bear to see her being bullied? In fact, Bai Ji didn't need to regard me as a love rival and repeatedly assert her sovereignty. I was just about to find an excuse to leave, but she held my arm even tighter, her delicate and soft body pressed closely against my arm. She wiped the tears that had already dried with her sleeve and said aggrievedly, Xie Qiao, Peika fought so fiercely, will he be violent at home in the future? 9. What are you two talking about? Peika came over. There were still some green and purple bruises on his face. Those hooligans had already gotten up and run away. It was already late at night, and the crowd quickly dispersed. Bai Ji said in a sweet voice, I was saying, Peika, thank you for standing up for me today. Peika lowered his eyes. His gaze quickly swept over me and then awkwardly landed elsewhere. If it wasn't because they said Xia, his face turned slightly red. Forget it. His wandering gaze landed on the arm that Bai Ji was holding mine with, his sharp eyebrows furrowed. Then he forcefully pulled the person away from me. Why are you so close to her? There was undisguised disgust in his words. It was like a dense array of sharp thorns stabbing into my heart, causing pain. I took a step back and distanced myself from them further. I'm going back now. I'll walk with you, Peiku said eagerly. I raised my eyes and looked at him calmly. No need, I don't want people to misunderstand. His face turned a little pale. After a long time, he gritted his teeth and said, Xie Qiao, are you in a puppy love with Wei Qing? I was stunned. During this period, Wei Qing and I had indeed been getting closer. I lowered my head, lowered my eyes, and didn't look at him. It's none of your business. Then I turned around and left. Only the thick night shrouded and engulfed his lonely figure, leaving behind a pair of gloomy eyes that lost all their color in the dim moonlight. 10. Because of my deliberate estrangement, the relationship between Pei Ku and me completely cooled down. There is a century-old ancient tree beside the school playground. In summer, its crown is huge, and its branches and leaves are lush, just like in the previous life. 1 week before the college entrance examination, according to tradition, the grade director organized us to write our target universities on pieces of paper and hang them on the branches. I looked at the white piece of paper on the table. The tip of my pen paused for a long time. Which university do you plan to apply for? Peika's casual voice suddenly sounded beside me. I raised my eyes. Then I saw his cold eyes. With a hint of concentration, he averted his gaze and sneered. There was a touch of disdain between his eyebrows and eyes. Don't get me wrong. I just don't want to go to the same university as you. The choices in front of Pei Ku and me were either University A or University B. Pei Ku still had that arrogant and flippant look on his face, but his hand resting on the edge of the table tightened a bit, and his knuckles turned slightly white. This scene slowly overlapped with the distant memory of the previous life. In the previous life, when I wrote University A on the piece of paper, Pei Ku said the same thing. It was just that on the rainy night after the college entrance examination, that little hidden feeling in my heart was awakened. When filling out the college application, I somehow chose University B, but for some reason, Pei Ku went to University A. The next time we met, it was across a street. I watched as Bai Ji got out of his car, and the two of them walked side by side, so that later, when he and I frequently met in events such as the college debate competition and the Securities Business Cup, his hostility remained undiminished, and I added new hatred. And Bai Ji stayed by his side from beginning to end, until she graduated from university and went abroad to study. I finally got out of this swamp of inferiority and awkwardness completely, but later, when we were working, Pei Ku and I joined the same investment bank. Since then, we have been entangled with each other repeatedly. In this life, I still wrote the name of University A on the piece of paper, but in my heart, I made up my mind. I want to stay as far away from Pei Ku as possible. 11. In the afternoon after the college entrance examination, the thick dark clouds hung low, and the air was humid and stuffy, making people feel breathless. I refused the class graduation party and left the class group. Pei Ku quickly sent me a message. I blocked him casually. Then I walked quickly towards home, fearing that it would suddenly rain heavily. When I opened the door, my grandmother was sitting in front of the TV, waving a palm leaf fan. There was a suitcase in front of her, which I had packed last night. With my almost oppressive tutoring, Wei Qing's grades had risen rapidly, especially in English. Wei Qing's parents were grateful to me and took the initiative to offer to take my grandmother to the UK to treat her old leg injury, and in return, whether Wei Qing eventually reached the undergraduate admission line or not, I would go to study in the UK with him as an accompanying student. The plane to leave was tonight. A flash of lightning streaked across the sky, briefly illuminating it. The torrential rain poured down. The small Western-style house of Pei Ku's family became blurred in the dense rain lines, together with the memory of that rainy night in the previous life and the image of Pei Ku's somewhat unhappy face when I first met him. They all gradually faded in my mind. Grandma suddenly raised her palm leaf fan and pointed outside the window. Qiao Qiao. Isn't that your classmate? He looks like Xiaoke next door. It's raining so heavily. Quickly let him in and sit down. My heart trembled. I turned my head and just met Pei Ku's wet eyes through the glass window. I opened the door. He was already standing at the door. He was soaked all over, gasping for breath, and staring at me intently. The originally blurred memory swept over me again, violently crashing into my nerves. My voice trembled slightly. What are you doing here? He opened his mouth, and his voice was a bit hoarse. as if suppressing a lot of emotions. Are you leaving? You're going to the UK with Wei Qing, right? I frowned. Did Wei Qing tell you? His eyes turned cold. If his family still wants to continue doing business in Hu City, they can't be too disrespectful to the Pei family. Peika's parents were both engaged in politics in Hu City and held high positions. He said eagerly, if you need help, why didn't you come to me? Obviously I suddenly felt a bit powerless. It was as if I had returned to the time when I was 7 years old. I stood in front of the cobweb-covered glass, very far away from Pei Ku, or perhaps it was out of reach, the hand hanging by my side clenched into a fist. What does it have to do with you, Pei Ku? Are we that familiar? There was confusion and bewilderment in his eyes. But I clearly dreamed last night that I bit my lip. Pei Ku, you and I are just classmates, competitors. After the college entrance examination, we should go our separate ways and never see each other again in our lives. With his family background and ability, he shouldn't have ended up with an unhappy marriage and died in a car accident with someone he didn't love. I also don't want to be trapped in a painful relationship and a failed marriage for the rest of my life. Peika's face suddenly turned pale. Xie Qiao, do you hate me so much? I forcefully suppressed the choking in my throat and squeezed out the heartless words. Yes, I hate you, so please, don't appear in front of me again. The unruly young man's eyes turned red for the first time. Xie Qiao, it was you who started competing with me first, and it was you who messed up my life first. There was a broken madness in his eyes, and his tone was terrifyingly low. Now you say you want to get rid of me, in your next life. I felt almost sad, but Pei Ku. This is already the next life. 12. Before boarding the plane, I looked at the heavy rain outside with a restless heart. My phone vibrated. I answered the call. Bai Ji's anxious voice came from the other end of the phone. Xie Qiao, Pei Ku had a car accident. Can you come and see him? My whole body froze, and my blood seemed to solidify instantly, but I still asked her calmly, is he seriously injured? The doctor said there's no life-threatening danger, just a slight concussion. My heart gradually returned to a normal rhythm. Sorry, I have something urgent to deal with now, so I won't go to see him, but since we were classmates, please help me convey my wishes for his well-being. There was a long silence on the other end before she asked, Xie Qiao, can you not leave? I sighed. Bai Ji, I wish you both a happy life and that you won't miss each other again. Bai Ji on the other end seemed to want to say something else, but I had already hung up the phone. I should go and find my own life. Pei Ku and I might never see each other again in this life. 13. Outside Grandma's ward, Wei Qing took the bag from my hand and smiled obsequiously. Sister Qiao, take me to have some fun. I've never seen a foreign bar before. The bank card that the Wei family gave to Wei Qing was in my hand. His expenses were jointly supervised by me and Wei Qing's parents. It was just to prevent him from indulging in a life of luxury and debauchery abroad and getting involved in bad things. He just reached out his hand, ready to massage my shoulders and back to curry favor with me. But the door of the ward suddenly opened. A strong arm stretched out and pulled me over. A suppressed and cold voice sounded from above my head. Why don't I go with you? My spoken English is also quite good. The world suddenly went silent in my ears, after being stunned for a moment. I looked up. Pei Ku's face was terrifyingly stern. The broken hair on his forehead slightly covered his eyes. His dark eyes, as deep as an abyss, stared at Wei Qing, exuding a gloom that didn't match his youth. There was also a circle of medical white gauze around his head, and his aura was cold and imposing. Wei Qing was intimidated and quickly waved his hands. No, brother Pei. I just remembered that our cat at home is going to give birth today, so I'll go back first. After saying that, he turned and ran away. I distanced myself from Pei Ku. Why are you here? All the coldness on Pei Ku's body dissipated. There was a trace of almost imperceptible attachment and sadness in his eyes when he looked at me. He naturally took the fruit bag from my hand. What, do you own this hospital? Then he pointed at the white gauze on his head, raised his eyebrows, and said, can't I come to see a doctor? What I didn't expect was that Grandma was very familiar with Pei Ku. While peeling an apple, he would occasionally tell a few embarrassing things about me at school, making the old woman giggle. Finally, when we got out of the ward, I asked him, how do you two know each other? He raised his eyebrows and said jokingly, when you were studying hard at school during the holidays to get the first place, it was me who was fulfilling my filial duties for you. I frowned and said, why didn't I know? Grandma never told me. I asked her not to. I didn't want you to know. My heart suddenly tightened. Then why aren't you hiding it from me now? His gaze fell on me, as if he had fallen into some memory. After a long while, he chuckled and said, because now, I want you to know, 14, since then, Peiku has started to circle around me frequently, except when having medical examinations. He seemed to want to stay by my side every step of the way. I looked at his face, wanting to say something but holding back. Could it be that Peiku really got his brain damaged? The words Peiku said to me on the day I left were also very strange. Now he is like a completely different person. In the past at school, he and I were well-known rivals throughout the school. Could it be that he wants to take revenge on me? Suddenly, I remembered an English speech contest in the city when I was 8 years old. Peiku came in second. The TV station interviewed him. At that time, I hadn't heard the classic saying, "My dad is times." Nor did I understand what it meant to make dumplings just for the vinegar. I just felt it was unfair. So, holding the first place certificate, I casually walked past the live broadcast camera and said, "Cut, what's there to be proud of for getting second place?" I don't know who was crying after losing the game just now. I trampled on his self-esteem in front of everyone. Peiku, who was still a little boy, was so angry that his eyes turned red. He choked and threatened me in a childish voice, "Xie Qiao, just you wait." Peiku and I thus competed for the first half of our lives in the best primary school, junior high school, and high school in Hu City, and later, we were entangled for a short part of the second half of our lives in the country's top universities and the most difficult to enter investment banks. I understood. He must have harbored grudges for too long and couldn't stand the thought of me leaving without a care. So he wants to cling to me like a ghost and disgust me. Finally, when I encountered Peiku doing stretches at the door of the ward for the 16th time, I couldn't bear it anymore. I forced a stiff smile and said, "Peiku, isn't Baiji here to accompany you? Is she still in the country? Why don't you bring her over? She can take care of you better." I tried to use Baiji to wake up his rationality, which was occupied by revenge, but I didn't know which word had stimulated him. Peiku's voice rose a few decibels in a hurry. "Why are you asking about her?" I wasn't sure if it was my illusion. Every time something related to Baiji came up, Peiku would lose his composure. I'm not the vicious female supporting character in novels who is bent on persecuting the innocent little white flower. Is it really necessary to guard against me like this? I felt a bit uncomfortable. A faint sourness spread from the bottom of my heart. Peiku still had his brows tightly knitted. "Don't mention her again in the future," I said faintly. "Okay." He still wasn't at ease and paced back and forth anxiously. "I should say, don't even think about her. Let me tell you, Baiji is not a good person. She may seem pure and innocent on the surface, but it's all an act. She has a lot of bad intentions behind her back." Peiku gritted his back teeth. "You should have less contact with her in the future." "No, it's best not to have any contact with her." "Me," he continued. "And that kid Wei Qing, he looks sly and evil. Today he dares to take you to a bar, and tomorrow he dares to take you to kill and set fires. You have good grades and a bright future. Don't hang out with him." I was so angry that I laughed. "What about you then?" He was stunned for a moment. Then he straightened his back and said confidently and coolly, "How can I be the same as them? I'm good looking, have good grades, am in good health, am positive and motivated, have a healthy mind, am sincere, have strong working abilities, can make money, and can support a family." From the first time we met in the UK, I felt that Peiku seemed a bit different from before. Probably, he was more shameless. "Standing with you, we are a perfect match. A golden couple, a match made in heaven." A gentle breeze blew by. Outside the glass window at the end of the corridor, the green branches of the summer oak swayed gently. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. Peiku secretly glanced at me. Then he continued to chatter. "When you enter society in the future and see all those strange-looking people, you'll find that someone like me is hard to find even with a lantern." His face turned slightly red. He bent down to look me in the eye, with a smile still on his lips. "So, would you like to consider me?" In Peika's clear eyes with a smile, I saw myself, who was stunned. The beating of my heart suddenly accelerated, but clearly, in that car accident in the previous life, the last words he said to me were, "Xie Qiao, in the next life, let's not be husband and wife anymore." My whole body felt as if it had been drenched in cold water, and a sense of coolness rose. "So," I blurted out, "are you crazy? What about Baiji?" The faint smile on Peiku's face froze. The corners of his mouth slowly dropped, pursing into a cold and hard straight line, while the corners of his eyes turned slightly red. "Wei Qing, Baiji, or is it that anyone except me is okay?" "Xie Qiao, you really have no conscience, Ollie. In that car accident in the previous life, the last words he said to me were, "Xie Qiao." In the next life, let's not be husband and wife anymore. My whole body felt as if it had been drenched in cold water, and a sense of coolness rose. So, I blurted out, "Are you crazy? What about Baiji?" The faint smile on Peika's face froze, the corners of his mouth slowly dropped, pursing into a cold and hard straight line, while the corners of his eyes turned slightly red. Wei Qing, Baiji, or is it that anyone except me is okay? Xie Qiao, you really have no conscience. Obviously, it's been me who has been by your side for all these years. Why, all of a sudden, are you looking at others? 15, Peika didn't pester me anymore. I didn't even see him for several days. But the words he said kept swirling in my mind, making my thoughts jumbled. In fact, in the previous life, Peiku was indeed an excellent husband. He was considerate, family-oriented, and had a strong sense of responsibility. He would remember to prepare surprises on every anniversary and pay attention to every detail in life. He was also very good to me. If it hadn't been for that scene in the jewelry store, if I hadn't discovered their occasional phone calls behind my back, if I hadn't seen the evasion in his eyes when I asked about Baiji, this marriage was originally the result of impulsive passion, with a bit of my hidden selfishness mixed in. In the end, its breakdown was also reasonable. 16, I cooked porridge in the rented house and prepared to take it to the hospital. Just as I entered the alley, a dull sound of footsteps came from behind. The pungent smell of ether rushed into my nostrils, the thermos bucket fell to the ground, and I lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a bumpy and shaking pickup truck. My hands were tied behind my back with a hemp rope, and beside me sat Baiji, looking extremely scared. Baiji, why are you here? Her delicate voice trembled a bit. I came to the UK to find Peiku. As soon as I got off the plane, I was kidnapped by them. What should we do? Xie Qiao, I'm so scared. The kidnapper driving the car turned his head. He had a fleshy face and was a Chinese. He took a puff of cigarette and said fiercely, "Shut up, you two." I remained calm and asked him, "Brother, we shouldn't have any grudges against you. Why did you kidnap us?" He laughed, his fleshy face twitching slightly, and his eyes glinted. "I don't have any grudges against you two, but I have some grudges with the Pei family. I heard that the only son of the Pei family is in the UK now. There are people watching him. So it's not easy for me to get close to him, so I had to kidnap you too. Both of you seem to have some connection with that kid. Let's see who he comes to exchange for, 1 for 1. As for the other one, he turned cold-faced and made a throat-slitting gesture, then didn't say anything more. My mind started to spin wildly. Since the Pei family was engaged in politics, it was not impossible for them to provoke some desperate people. Baiji and I were innocent victims. My hands tied behind my back quietly turned. The rope wasn't tight, which meant he wasn't a professional kidnapper, just seeking personal revenge. He locked us in an abandoned factory, then he locked the door and left. Because of fear, Baiji stuck very close to me. Her voice also took on a sobbing tone. "Xie Qiao, what should we do? Will he kill us?" As I twisted my wrists, I comforted her. "Don't worry, his target is Peiku, not us, but he just said something about 1 for 1. And the other one will. Baiji started to sob softly. "Xie Qiao, do you think Peiku will come to save me? I'm so scared." My heart suddenly sank for a moment. Choose me, or choose Baiji, or perhaps, choose neither. But I don't want to be anyone's option. The restraint on my wrist was completely loosened. I've untied it. I showed a relaxed smile. Then, under Baiji's stunned expression, I quickly untied the rope that bound her. I was just about to sit up, but a rattling sound of chains came from outside the door. Soon, the iron door was kicked open. I also resumed the bound posture. Peiku, wearing a hospital gown, was pushed in by the kidnapper. His hands were bound with chains, his eyes were blindfolded, and a cloth ball was stuffed in his mouth. He was pushed down beside me. The kidnapper grinned. "This kid really has deep feelings. He really came to exchange himself for you. He's a real man. I won't lie to you." He lifted Baiji's chin. "You're Baiji, right? I'll let you go. As for the other one..." He glanced at me sideways and sneered. "Can only consider herself unlucky." Under the kidnapper's threat, a faint sound of chains hitting the ground reached my ears. I suddenly felt dazed. In front of my eyes, Peiku's gentle and helpless face from the previous life seemed to emerge again. "Xie Qiao, why do you act like this whenever you're angry? You ignore me and don't listen to me either. Then how about this?" He bent his fingers and tapped a rhythm on the table. I am sorry. Morse code, how about it? I just learned it. Ironically, I also went to learn it, and now, naturally, I also understood what he wanted to say at the moment. Don't be afraid, I called the police. The moment the kidnapper squatted down to untie Baiji, I wrapped the rope in my hand around his neck. My strength was no match for that of an adult male. After forcefully pulling the person down, I pulled Baiji and ran out with all my might, then locked the door. 17. The scorching sun baked the overgrown wasteland. I don't know how long we ran until Baiji let out a cry of pain from behind. She sprained her ankle. I squatted down. Come on, I'll carry you. She was stunned and called my name blankly. Xie Qiao. I frowned. We have to at least run to the road. Peiku has called the police. You'll be safe when you see the police. Hurry up. Under my urging, she climbed onto my back. Baiji was petite, but she still put a lot of pressure on me. She wiped the sweat from my face and then obediently wrapped her arms around my neck. Xie Qiao. Baiji's voice was very soft. Clearly, it was close to my ear, but it seemed to float from far away in the sky. To conserve my strength, I didn't respond to her. She still kept talking to herself. Do you remember, you said that girls must be brave. The more difficult the situation, the braver they should be. There was a bit of choking in her voice. I'm sorry, I didn't do it. I was stunned. My thoughts were gently stirred, and a blurred figure emerged, a little girl in a white dress, holding a teddy bear, hiding behind the fence of my house. She looked into the distance while crying. At that time, she asked me while crying, Sister, is it because I'm not obedient that my dad doesn't want me anymore? Yes. Is it because I'm destined to have a hard life that my father died in an accident and my mother left me behind and never came back to see me again? I resented and hated, but it was all in vain. I could only say to her, if he doesn't want you, you don't want him either. You're a girl, so you have to be braver. Do you understand? The more difficult the situation, the braver you should be. Precisely because I had nothing. I had to work desperately hard to stay away from those hardships and try my best to draw in vitality. Coming back to my senses, I hesitated and said, Are you, that little girl? You still remember me? That's great. She buried her face in my neck. Xie Qiao, come with me. Peiku doesn't want you. Let's not want him either. Okay, you need money. I can give it to you too. My mother left me a trust. I'm an adult now and have received it. Come with me, please. Xie Qiao, a wetness spread across my shoulder. Finally, we reached the side of the road. I put her down. Sorry, Baiji, I can't go with you. I have to go back. She suddenly grabbed my sleeve. Xie Qiao. I pulled her hand away. Don't worry about me. I'm just going to buy him some time. When the police come, we'll all be saved. Baiji, I can't leave Peiku there alone. He'll die. The moment he tapped out the Morse code, I knew that Peiku had also been reborn. Along the way, I thought a lot. Even if I was slow-witted, I should have understood that there seemed to be too many misunderstandings between Peiku and me, but misunderstandings could only be cleared up if we were alive. He had already died once in front of me. I couldn't watch him die again. 18. When I returned to that abandoned warehouse, I just saw the kidnapper's stick landing on Peiku's calf. When he raised his arm again, the nerve of rationality suddenly snapped. I picked up a piece of scrap wood nearby and rushed over. Blocking in front of Peiku. Don't touch him, a shrill female voice sounded from behind. The kidnapper's hand that was raising the iron rod stopped in mid-air. I've already had someone pay off your daughter's medical expenses. The surgery will be tomorrow. He called the police. The police will be here soon. You can go. The kidnapper was slightly stunned and put away the ferocity on his face. After throwing the stick on the ground, he fled the warehouse in a hurry. I looked at Baiji, who was limping towards us not far away, with a complicated mood. Peiku's eyes darkened. Why? Baiji smiled and looked at him coldly. You're asking me why? Don't you know how much I hate you, brother? My pupils shrank slightly. Peiku and Baiji were siblings. Baiji's voice was filled with crazy hatred. The son of a mistress is actually a month older than me. Don't you think it's ridiculous? Tell me, shouldn't I hate him? It's you who made my mother die of depression and my family fall apart. Shouldn't I hate you? She tightly grasped Peiku's collar. The delicate appearance she usually had faded completely, leaving only indifference. Peiku looked up, his eyes dark and his voice as cold as if quenched in ice. I told you, my mother didn't know about it at that time. She was also a victim. Their marriage had been in name only since she knew about your existence, then since she knew. Why didn't she get a divorce? Why didn't she expose that hypocrite? Peiku was stunned, his Adam's apple rolling. It took him a long time to say hoarsely, it's a political marriage. It's not as simple as you think." A hint of sarcasm played on the corner of Baiji's mouth. Extremely hypocritical. Peiku endured the pain with his brows tightly furrowed. "Baiji, what on earth do you want to do? Didn't we make things clear a long time ago? I've been taking care of you as a sister all these years. Why are you going crazy all of a sudden?" An almost painful sorrow welled up on Baiji's face, and tears streamed down. "Because I hate you, Peiku. Why do you have everything since you were born? Why do you have to take everything away from me? You took away my father and drove my mother to death. Why do you even have to take away the person I like?" Baiji seemed to have lost all support and fell to the ground. Like a gardenia flower blown apart, her voice was broken and she sobbed uncontrollably. "Why did you take her away and then not keep your promise to protect her? You promised me." Baiji raised her eyes, and the hatred in her eyes surged to the extreme. "If you die, then die. Why do you have to implicate her? Why?" The air suddenly fell silent. Peika's anger froze on his face, as if it had been forcefully shattered and finally scattered bit by bit. The musty and damp smell of dust covered the nose and mouth, blocking the throat, making it impossible to make the slightest sound. It took me a long time to find my lost voice and said hoarsely, "Baiji." Her back suddenly stiffened, her shoulders trembled slightly, but she didn't turn around. I suddenly remembered, she seemed to have called me Xie Qiao many times. The blurred figures in my memory began to become clear one by one. Over more than 20 years, the years have been long. The girl beside Peiku, her gaze, from beginning to end, had actually been on me. But it wasn't until the sound of police sirens came closer and closer, resounding through this empty and dark space. The policemen with guns passed by me one after another. She still didn't turn around and look at me. 19. After leaving the police station, I returned to the hospital. As soon as I stepped into the ward, a gaze immediately fell on me. In the suffocating silence, I was the first to speak. I didn't accuse Baiji. Peika's gaze carefully landed on my face. "Then I won't accuse her either." I glanced at his bleeding wound. "You are the victim. This is your right." Peika shook his head, his eyes slightly red, and explained to me, "I exchanged myself for you, not Baiji." His throat rolled, and it took him a long time to say dryly, "Because I like you. I've liked you since the first time I saw you. That's why I wanted to give you my favorite cookies. And that's why I studied desperately to make you notice me. On the day of the accident, I bought a ring. I always thought that I should make up a proposal ceremony for you. I've liked you for a long, long time, Xie Qiao. It's been so long that I thought I would always be by your side, and I even forgot that I should have said I liked you first." Peika looked like he was about to cry. There was a pleading look in his eyes as he looked at me. "Xie Qiao, don't stay silent," I said helplessly. "Didn't you say that we shouldn't be husband and wife in the next life?" In his moist eyes, the light shattered inch by inch. He was like a criminal who had been sentenced to death. His pale lips trembled slightly. He pulled out a bitter smile. "I just felt that you weren't happy. It seems that no matter what I do, you're not happy when you're with me." He blinked his confused eyes and said despairingly, "Xie Qiao, should I let go? But I've known you since I was 7 years old. I can't even accept you leaving my sight." Yes, I wasn't happy. A person full of suspicion is like walking through the thorns in the dark night, looking back and forth, always living in fear. It's impossible to truly be happy. In love, honesty is freedom. Peiku is an awkward person. And perhaps I am even more so. I held the thing in my hand, and my palm felt a little hot. But I still said firmly, "Reach out." He was slightly stunned and opened his palm. A silver ring that seemed to be wrapped in the moonlight fell into his palm. This was my answer. "I like you too." Baiji's exclusive side story. I have someone whom I've liked for many years. I've seen her speak vigorously under the national flag. I've seen her confidence as she handled the competition projects with ease. I've also seen the way she smiled when receiving awards at the sports meeting. Her ponytail was tied high, like an unyielding flag, warm, bright, like the sun. She is the only remaining sun in my life, but she seems to have never seen me, so, I'm jealous of the place where her gaze lands, yet I can't help but get closer to that place, even if I can only steal a glimpse of her out of the corner of her eye. The person I like is named Xie Qiao. She is the most radiant and brave person in the world, but on the day she died, it happened to be a rainy day. I stood in that heavy rain for a long time. Then I went home and filled a bathtub with warm water for myself. The bright red blood wound its way from my wrist into the calm water surface. It was like cinnabar fading away and the afterglow dissipating, but I didn't feel cold. I seemed to hear Xie Qiao's voice. She called me with a smile. "Baiji, her voice was a bit awkward. I didn't have a deep impression of her. Suddenly, I laughed. I almost forgot, the person I like has never called my name. Side story of the three of them, when Pei-Ku casually mentioned a certain college boy, he didn't seem to care much, but in fact, he was almost crushing the cup in his hand. Me, what college boy? He looked up and gave me a resentful look, his gaze then drifted elsewhere. You know, the one from the aquarium. He couldn't help but mutter in a low voice, is he as handsome as me? Is he as tall as me? Can he take care of people as well as I can? Can he make money like I can? Is he as good to you as I am? Is he? Stop it. You even called him a chubby guy when you met last time. I suspect that Pei-Ku is hostile to any dog that gets close to me. Pei-Ku, the chubby guy. Oh, he's my nephew. Someone finally smiled, the corners of his mouth lifting. You should have said so earlier. Next time, invite my nephew over to play. I'll take him to the aquarium. Someone's tail almost went up to the sky, but it was quickly brought down by a rapid knock on the door. Pei-Ku's face darkened. A clear female voice came from outside the door. Sister-in-law, open the door. It's me, your brother.